some mention, it's a dull gray afternoon here on the shores of Lake Erie in Cleveland. The temperature is 56 degrees. The humidity is 80%. The wind will not be a big factor. It's 8 miles an hour from the northeast, and chances of a shower are just about 50-50. The officials for the ball game this afternoon, the crew is headed by referee Tommy Bell from Lexington. George Kennard is the umpire. Ray Dodez the head linesman. Bill Summers is the line judge. The back judge is Tom Kelleher. Fritz Graff is the field judge. We're having the reenactment of the coin toss out in the center of the field. Bob Johnson and Kenny Graham, the Bengals co-captains, and Leroy Kelly and Jim Houston, the two co-captains for the Cleveland Browns. The Bengals are dressed in black this afternoon. This is the second and last time this year that the Bengals will wear black uniforms. The only other time was in the preseason game against the St. Louis Cardinals. The hometown Cleveland Browns are in white, and of course we have a marked similarity in the uniforms of these two ball clubs, needless to say.
So we could have an interesting matchup here this afternoon between Don Cockcroft and Horst Muhlman. They both are the leading scorers for both teams, mostly on the field goal and extra point production. Horst has hit 4 out of 7. His longest last week was 52 yards or 51. And the longest that Cockcroft has made, he's hit 2 out of 5. His longest this year has been 27 yards. So it's going to be interesting to see. And Horst was putting them through from about 55 yards out before the game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if they get within field goal range.
Lamar Parrish and Paul Robinson are the deep men for the Bengals, who will be going from right to left on your radio dial. Don Cockcroft has the ball teed up on the 40-yard line, and we're just about set to go. The infield here at the stadium is on the Browns end of the field in this first quarter. Starts at about the 15-yard line and then veers back to each corner. Here's Cockcroft's kick. Not particularly long. Paul Robinson takes it right on the 5. Up to the 10, to the 15, to the 20, to the 25, and he's hit and dropped at the 26-yard line by 4 or 5. Cleveland Brown tacklers. The first man to get to him was Bear Hooker. And the Bengals will put it in play on the 26-yard line, 1st and 10. Virgil Carter getting his first start at quarterback this afternoon. Jess Phillips and Paul Robinson in the backfield. Eric Crabtree is the wide receiver on the left side, Speedy Thomas on the right. The Browns with a 6-man forward front with 2 linebackers up on the line of scrimmage. Carter looks over that Brown defense. The handoff goes to Jess Phillips, who tries left tackle and fights his way forward for maybe a yard or so. Big Walter Johnson, the former Taft High School product from Cincinnati, along with the middle linebacker Jim Houston, were the 2 men who dragged him down. The gain is short of 2 yards. We'll call it a long yard, make it 2nd and 9. The Bengals at about their own 27.5-yard line. The first offensive series of plays in this ball game, jam-packed Lakefront Stadium that'll go to about 84 or 85,000 people, perhaps even more. Crabtree is tight on the left side now. Speedy Thomas split right. Both Phillips and Robinson in behind Carter. Carter rolling out to his right, looking to pass. Has Thomas, hits him at the 38, gets away at the 40, 45, to midfield and down to Browns territory at the 48-yard line. He gave Eric Barnes the sideline pattern, and after he caught the ball, he cut back toward the middle of the field and left Barnes standing, and finally Mike Howell had to drive him down. Dale Lindsey, the linebacker on the left side, also collaborated to bring down Thomas, but the Bengals picked up about 24 yards on the play to the Cleveland 49 and a first down.
Bill, I think Speedy was talking with you about a little thing that he has going with Eric Barnes, and I think he likes to see what kind of moves he can put on that 35-year-old veteran. He put one on him that time.
It'll be interesting to see how many times they go to Speedy this afternoon. Crabtree wide left, Thomas wide right. Carter to Phillips up the middle on a draw, and he's got about 5 yards down to the Browns' 45-yard line. Jerry Shirk and Walter Johnson, the interior tackles, Jack Gregory, the right end, all in on the stop. Well, not until Phillips on the draw trap picked up 4 yards to the 45-yard line, and it'll be 2nd and 6. We played just a little less than 2.5 minutes here in the first quarter of this ball game. It's scoreless. This is the only game. Well, there are 4 or 5 other games that are started, but no other scores to report, and we'll be keeping you posted throughout the afternoon. On the right side, Walt Sumner has Crabtree. Carter drops straight back, looks, throws out in the flat. Phillips has it, knocked down at the line of scrimmage. A fine tackle by Ernie Kellerman. Carter threw to Jeff Phillips out on the left flat, but Ernie Kellerman was right with him and knocked Jeff Phillips down right at the line of scrimmage. So it'll bring up the first 3rd down play of the afternoon. The Bengals 3rd and 6 at the Browns 45.
Kellerman, a 5-year veteran for Miami, played that one beautifully. He had that one smelled out, as they say, and he was there waiting for Jeff as Jeff juggled the ball momentarily and dropped him right at the line of scrimmage.
This is a bird's eye view from up here at top Lakefront Stadium. Now it's a slot formation to the right. Two-men split. Carter dropping back. Look, fires. Paul Robinson drops at the 41-yard line. The pass was complete. Dropped immediately by Walt Sumner, and the Bengals will be about 2 yards short of a first down, and Horst Moolman comes into the ball game. One thing that Horst wanted to know right away, what was Lou Groza's longest field goal here at Lakefront Stadium? What was it, 51 yards? And Horst talking about 52.
52 against the New York Giants back in about 1952, as I remember, Phil, and he'd like to break that one. He's going to be kicking this one from just about the midfield stripe.
It'll be lined up about 9 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It will come right from midfield where Sam White will put the ball down. The lines are down. The ball is placed. There's Moolman's kick. It is good. It clears the crossbar by about 3 or 4 yards. A 50-yard field goal by Horst Moolman. So time is called with 11:44 left in the first quarter here at Municipal Stadium. The score, the Bengals 3, the Browns nothing.
A winner all the time. You're the winner all the time. A winner all the time.
Look around. There's probably a beer drinker next to you enjoying an ice-cold Duke beer. Look at the rich, creamy color, bubbling with natural beer flavor. The cold, right-now taste of Duke is pure beer drinking pleasure. Tell the crowd to move over. There's always room for another Duke drinker. Be a winner. Try a Duke.
It's a winner all the time. It's a winner all the time.
People know a good thing when they taste it. We're now selling over 1 3/4 million Duke beers a day. Try a Duke. You'll taste why.
Well, for Horst Muhlman in back-to-back games, those are field goals of 51 and 50 yards. Last week against Houston, 51 yards, and this afternoon, 50 yards on the opening series of plays here at Lakefront Stadium.
Homer Jones and Tom Shane are the deep men for the Browns back in the goal line. And Moolman lines it way back, way out of everything, 15 yards beyond the goal line. They'll come out to the 20-yard line where the Browns will go to work for the first time this afternoon. Moolman now has attempted 8 field goals on the year, and he has made 5. Homer Jones ranks 3rd in the American Football Conference in kickoff returns. He had no opportunity on that one. Now we'll pick up this Brown starting backfield for her. We see number 44, Leroy Kelly, is in there. Boscott, number 35, is there, and the quarterback is Bill Nelson. And any of those three, if they should get banged, could be out of this ball game. Gary Collins split right where Lamar Parrish has him. Fair Hooker on the right side along with Ken Riley. Nelson gives the ball to Boscott, who worms his way in over the left side, gets up over the 25 to about the 28-yard line. Kenny Graham and Ken Dyer, the safeties, had to make the stop, and Scott showed a lot of running power on that play. He was hit at about the 22-yard line, but still kept fighting and worked all the way up to the 28 for an 8-yard gain, and it'll be 2nd and 2. The Bengals defensively have Royce Berry and Ron Carpenter at the end. Steve Chamazak and Mike Reed are the tackles. Bill Berge is in the middle. Ken Avery and Al Beauchamp are the outside linebackers. Lamar Parrish and Ken Riley are at the corners. Kenny Graham, Ken Dyer are the safeties. Collins split right, Fair Hooker. The second-year man from Arizona State is split left. Leroy Kelly cuts in over tackle. He gets a couple of yards. Bill Berge and Ken Avery and Royce Berry right there to meet him. He got very close to the 30-yard line, which is where he had to go for the first down. And the official signals that it is a first down by about the length of the football.
So far, the way Scott and Kelly have run, even though they had knee and ankle injuries respectively, they have not shown any effects of those injuries on those first 2 running plays. But as Phil said, a good crack by somebody might put either one of them out of the ball game.
The Browns come out in an I formation. Milt Morin shifts out and goes right. Collins split right again, Hooker to the left. Leroy Kelly and Boscott in behind Nelson, who drops back for his first passing attempt. Has time, fires down the middle, it's incomplete. He overthrew Milt Morin by about 10 yards. Farther on down the field was Fair Hooker, and it just went in between the two. Ken Riley and Kenny Graham were back in pass defense, but the pass was not near any Brown receiver. There are 10 minutes and 14 seconds left to play in this first quarter. The Bengals have a 3-0 lead on Horst Moolman's 50-yard field goal.
It could be with Bill Nelson having missed that game last week against Pittsburgh that his timing is just a little bit off because the offensive line of Cleveland gave him good protection that time. He had plenty of time, but the ball was nowhere near either one of the downfield receivers, Milt Moore or Fair Hooker.
You see how far back he dropped, Jim. He went a good 10, 12 yards back behind the line of scrimmage. He may not be too mobile. Hooker split left, Collins to the right. Again dropping back as Nelson throws out to Leroy Kelly on the right side. Kelly at the 30, drops the ball, picks it up, and drops it at the 35-yard line by Ken Dyer. Kelly was open after he had eluded Ken Avery on the left side. It looked as though he had a lot of running room, but then Kelly dropped the ball and picked it up and made 5 yards on the play, so it'll bring up a 3rd and 5. The Browns have the ball at their own 35-yard line. The crowd hasn't had too much to cheer about thus far this afternoon as the Browns just have their hands on the football for the first time in the afternoon. Hooker goes 12 yards wide to the left. Gary Collins split right, and the cornerback's up tight. Dropping back is Nelson. Throws down the middle. Kelly can't hold it at the 38-yard line. It'll be incomplete. Had he held the ball, it would still be short of first down yardage. Bill Berge was on pass coverage right on Leroy Kelly, and for the first time this afternoon, Don Cockcroft comes in to boot for the Browns. Lamar Parrish and Kenny Graham will drop back in the safety spots. Graham's always the short man, Parrish the deep man. And among punt return men in the American Football Conference, Lamar Parrish ranks 4th. He's returned 6 for an average of 11 8/10 yards. He's standing back near the 20. The line of scrimmage is the 35. The snap from center is a good one. Cockcroft gets the boot away, and it's a good kick. Parrish signals fair catch and takes it at the 18-yard line. So the Bengals will go to work at their own 18-yard line. That was a 47-yard boot by Cockcroft. And the offensive unit comes in for the Bengals. Time called, 9:14 left in the first quarter here at Municipal Stadium. The score, the Bengals 3, the Browns nothing.
Harold, my mother just called from New York. She and Rodney are coming to visit us, and they want to see how well you're doing in the business.
Well, so what do you want me to do? Build a new building in their honor? What do I care if they come?
Harold, my mother has never seen our house or your business, and you know I want to show them you're as successful as Rodney. You just have to do something about that dumpy office of yours. Rodney has a beautiful office.
Listen, Elaine, I don't care about your brother's office, but it just so happens I've already bought some new furniture from Pren's Office Designers.
Pren's Office Designers? Who is Pren's? They've never done any of our friends' homes, and you...
Elaine, Pren specializes in office design. They gave me professional layouts, beautiful colors, and great contract prices. Matter of fact, it was all very simple, and in a week I'll have a brand new, beautiful office. Now settle down and leave it all to Pren. I'm going golfing.
Well, all right, darling. Just think, if Mother likes your new Pren's office, she might give you a life-size portrait.
Pren's Office Equipment, 294 South Main, Akron, Ohio.
Here in Cleveland, it's 3-0 Cincinnati, and at Riverfront Stadium, last of the first inning, the Reds 3, the Orioles nothing.
Crabtree split left, Speedy Thomas right. Virgil Carter, the quarterback. Hands off, over the right side goes Paul Robinson, fights his way up to the 20, and there he's dropped by big Walter Johnson, the 275-pound left tackle. Wrapped his arm around Robbie and dropped him after a 2-yard pickup. Robinson right on the 20-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 8. On defense, Ron Snido and Jack Gregory are the ends. Walter Johnson and Jerry Shirk the tackles. Jim Houston is the middle linebacker. And Billy Andrews and Dale Lindsay are the outside linebackers. Erich Barnes and Walt Sumner are the corners. Ernie Kellerman and Mike Hall the safeties. Carter back to pass. Throws, complete to Speedy Thomas at the 33, and he's dragged down immediately by Erich Barnes. That's the second pass reception of the afternoon now for Speedy Thomas. And Speedy, of course, is just that, and he's quick. And on aging Erich Barnes, the Bengals may be throwing a lot of passes in that direction this afternoon. The pickup on the play was 12 yards, and the Bengals have a first down at their own 32.
Had he been able to shake that one tackle and the man was right on top of him, he might have picked up quite a few more yards because there was nobody else close around.
Virgil Carter has thrown 4 times now this afternoon, has completed all 4. The line of scrimmage, 1st and 10, Bengals at the 32. Carter with the ball, gives off to Jess Phillips, coming wide to the left. The flag is down on the play, and he's knocked down at the 33-yard line. Walt Sumner came up in the right cornerback spot, and Billy Andrews, the right side linebacker, circled the play. But I believe the left end, Ron Snido, was offside. He came across the line of scrimmage before the ball was snapped. So let's wait and see what the call will be. No other scores up on the board thus far this afternoon. In the other games, Baltimore's at Houston, Boston at Kansas City, Buffalo's at Pittsburgh, Denver at Oakland, Atlanta will play at Dallas, Detroit's at Washington, Minnesota at Chicago, New Orleans at St. Louis, Philadelphia at New York, San Francisco at Los Angeles. It was a 5-yard offside penalty against the Browns. It moves the ball out to the 38-yard line. Now they move it back to the 37.5 where it should be. It turned out to be about a 5.5 or a 6-yard penalty. So it'll be 1st and 5 for the Bengals at that point. Carter has hit Speedy Thomas twice and both of his running backs. Jess Phillips and Paul Robinson once each. Crabtree split left, Speedy Thomas to the right. Carter again drops back to pass. Has the time. Throws out on the screen. Robinson at the 35. Down the sideline. 40. To midfield. Gets the block and knocked down at the 44-yard line. A next side tackle by Mike Howell. The screen pass set up beautifully. Walt Sumner over there to drag him down also to help out. The screen pass on the left side worked well that time. From the 38 down to the 44. It's an 18-yard gain on the play. And Carter is now 5 for 5, and the Bengals have a first down at the Browns 44.
And I believe Paul Robinson was shaken up just a little bit. At first, they were signaling to the bench that he should be replaced, but apparently he shook it off very quickly. He had a few cobwebs as Howell really put the neckside tackle on him.
The Browns with 5 men up on the line of scrimmage, 2 linebackers close, and the corners and safeties about 5 yards deep. Carter gives off to Jeff Phillips, running wide to the right. He's got the corner turn, gets by Barnes down inside the 35 to about the 34-yard line before Ron Snido could drag him down. Out leading the interference was Pat Matson on that play, and that play went for just about 10 yards, and a little more than 10 as they signal us the first down. Phillips took about 3 steps that time, and from our high vantage point, you could see the crackdown blocking in the line, and you knew that he had the corner turned. The broadcast booth here at Municipal Stadium, up on top of the roof of these gigantic stands. Well, the Bengals will lead 3-0 in the ball game. They're at the Browns' 34-yard line, 1st and 10. We have 6.5 minutes left to play in this first quarter. Crabtree is left, Speedy Thomas to the right. Now Jess Phillips moves a step over to the left in the backfield behind Carter, who drops straight back to pass. The blitz is on. Phillips has the pass at the 35, down to the 30, and down to the 26-yard line he goes. A flag is thrown on the play. Jim Houston, the middle linebacker, came out of the backfield to drag him down. But the penalty apparently will be marked off against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals throwing out on the flat here early in the ball game. That will be a long mark-off. It'll take the ball all the way back to the 49-yard line. A 15-yard penalty against the Cincinnati Bengals. Referee Tommy Bell comes over to give the sign. Bruce Coslett, I believe, was charged with illegal use of hands. Still back at the 49-yard line now for the Bengals. It'll be first down and 25 yards to go for the first down. So the Bengals have run 3 plays now, and it's still first down. Crabtree, the left, Carter drops straight back. Look, fires down the middle, completes to Crabtree at the 40, 35, 30, 25, all the way down to the 20-yard line. The first pass of the afternoon from Virgil Carter to Eric Crabtree, and that little water spider just jiggled his way down the center of that field again for a 29-yard gain before Erich Barnes could drag him down. And now Carter has hit 7 straight passes, and the Bengals are 1st and 10 on the Brown 20-yard line.
When Crabtree gets his hands on the ball, and he had a blocker down there with him, there's no denying him some yardage, because if he can't get it on his own, he's got some help, and he's got the speed, he's got the quickness, he's got the shiftiness to pick it up.
Now the Bengals have slot formation to the right. Coslett is split wide. Speedy Thomas is in the slot. To Paul Robinson running around the left side, cuts in at the 20 and fights his way down to the 18. Guy Dennis running interference out in front of him. Ron Snido, the left end, and the cornerback on that side. Erich Barnes combined to make the stop, but the gain was 2 yards, and it'll be 2nd and 8. Pittsburgh has a 3-0 lead over Buffalo in the first quarter, and the Giants have scored a touchdown to lead Philadelphia 7-0 in the first quarter. So the Bengals, who were penalized 15 yards, quickly made it back on a 29-yard scoring pass, and Virgil Carter, in his debut as a starter for the Bengals, is off to a very, very auspicious start. Crabtree split left, Speedy Thomas to the right. Carter rolling out to his left, drops back, fires down. Crabtree at the 10-5, he loses the ball, but sitting down, he picks it up, and he has it at the 2-yard line. Walt Sumner was over on pass defense. He got between Carter and the football, And as he spun around, he got hold of Crabtree's arm, and he lost the ball. But Crabtree was sitting down, and he just picked up the ball at the 2-yard line, and that's where the Bengals will have it 1st and 10.
For a moment, I don't think Eric knew exactly what to do with the football, whether to just sit there and look at it, Phil, or to pick it up, or to cradle it, or what to do. But he finally grabbed it, and it's just at the last moment.
He was sitting down, and it was right beside him. Bob Matheson and Joe Jones have gone in, replacing a couple of the backfield men in the goal line defense. 1st and goal at the 2. Jeff Phillips in over right side, touchdown. Jeff Phillips went over right guard. Mike Wilson and Guy Dennis cleared the way. It's a 2-yard touchdown by Jeff Phillips, and the Bengals have marched 82 yards to score, riding the passing arm of Virgil Carter and lead 9-0.
And it took only 10 plays, so that's an average of 8 2/10 yards per play from the line of scrimmage for the Bengals as they move out in front 9-0.
Now Horst Muhlman will attempt the extra point. Sam Weitz will hold at the 10-yard line. A couple of the Browns jump across side, but the ball wasn't snapped. The kick is up in the air, and it's good. So time is called. 4:35 left here at Municipal Stadium in the first quarter. The score is now the Bengals 10, the Browns nothing.
Got those BC glasses all filled up for the big trip to Storyville adults? Good, because it's time again for Uncle Buddy reads BC Comics to the big kids.
Well, hi there, gang. It's your old Uncle Buddy, and I've got another phantasmagorical BC comic strip cartoon for Marathon. Today, Clumsy's talking to BC, who's an insurance salesman. And Clumsy says, "What's a decreasing rider, BC?" And BC says, "That's a guy that rides a horse till its legs wear off." And then BC says, "Any other questions?" And Clumsy says, "Yeah. What are the names of some other insurance companies?"
Thanks, Uncle Buddy. And say, you adults can get an attractive 12-ounce BC glass just like old Uncle Buddy's when you buy 8 or more gallons of gasoline at participating Marathon service stations, where you get satisfaction or your money back on all Marathon petroleum products and automotive services. And be sure to ask about the matching pitcher offer, too.
Our old Uncle Buddy will send you a carp through the mail.
This is Jimmy Crum along with Phil Samp at Lakefront Stadium in Cleveland. The Bengals leading 10-0, and the Bengals really showed some offense as they marched 82 yards in 10 plays.
Here's Muhlman's kickoff to Homer Jones and Tom Shane. It's well back into the end zone again, and it won't come out. Backing up, Jones stepped over the end line as he caught the ball. So that eliminates the finest of run-back men on kickoffs when you bury it in the end zone, as Muhlman does so frequently. Coach Paul Brown feels that the Bengals kicking game, Horst Muhlman with the placements and Dave Lewis with the punting, is as good as any there is in football. So now the Browns trailing 10-0, have the ball at their own 20, 1st and 10. They split both Morin and Gary Collins to the right side. On the left side is Fair Hooker, and the crowd begins to set up a chant here as the hometown Browns trail 10-0. Leroy Kelly and Boscott. A quick pitch. Leroy Kelly on the right side. Ken Riley runs him out of bounds at the 23. Kelly tried to stiff arm Riley, but he couldn't keep him away. Ron Carpenter was over to cover quick. So was Ken Dyer, but they weren't needed as Riley drove Kelly out of bounds after he took the quick pitch at the 23.5-yard line. So it'll be 2nd and 6.5 for the Browns.
The only other scores on the board, and I think Phil mentioned them a few moments ago, in the first quarter, the New York Giants lead Philadelphia 7-0. And also in the first quarter, Pittsburgh leading Buffalo by a score of 3-0. And those are the only other scores that have been posted. Last night, of course, in case you joined us late, the Miami Dolphins defeated the New York Jets 20-6.
The Browns come out in the I formation. Now Morin shifts out left, and Kelly comes out. Actually is an end. Only one running back in behind. They have 4 pass receivers up close. It goes to Boscott, who tries to come around the left side. He's dragged down at the 23-yard line, right at the line of scrimmage. Bill Berge, the middle linebacker, was over covering. Ken Dyer was there. So was Lamar Perry. And they held Boscott for no gain. They came around the same side where both Morin and Kelly had lined up, very close to the line of scrimmage. They were out there as blockers, but they could do nothing as the Bengals sifted through. So it'll be 3rd down and still 6.5 yards to go for a Browns first down. A gray, overcast day here in Cleveland, but very pleasant temperature of 56 degrees. We look out the open end of the stadium, we can see Lake Erie and a large freighter over there being loaded or unloaded. So now with a 3rd and 6.5, they send Hooker out to the left, Gary Collins to the right, Nelson drops back to pass. Throws a screen to Kelly. At the 20, up to the 25, and he's knocked out of bounds. Short, just about at the 30-yard line. Ken Dyer knocked him out of bounds. Let's see where the official signals that he went out, and the Browns have a first down as Kelly got about a foot over the 30-yard line. Leading the interference was Joe Tafoni. So right at the 30, by the length of the football, the Browns retain control. First and 10, 3 minutes and 35 seconds remaining in this first quarter, and the Bengals are out in front 10-0, as Cleveland has not been out of their own end of the field thus far in this first half. Now Hooker goes left, Gary Collins comes right. Nelson has not thrown to Collins yet this afternoon. Handoff, Leroy Kelly goes in over left guard, fights his way forward for a couple of yards, but that side of the Browns line just collapsed on him. Bill Berge was there, the middle linebacker. Steve Chamazak, the right tackle, also in. So it's a gain of 2, and it'll be 2nd and 8.
We've mentioned the nostalgia connected with this game, the fact that Paul Brown had coached so many championship teams here. As the team came in from the airport yesterday before they went to the Cleveland Sheraton Hotel, Paul Brown had the bus come by Cleveland Stadium so that he could take a look at the stadium and the players could look at it themselves.
Hooker left, Collins right. Nelson again drops back to pass. Fires out in the flat. Collins has it out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Cleveland first down. Lamar Parrish pushed him out of bounds. A quick down and out pattern from Bill Nelson to Gary Collins, and the Browns have a first down.
First down for the Browns, the ball on the 42-yard line.
No other scores up on the board, only those that we gave to you. Here the Bengals lead 10-0 in the ball game. Collins has thrown 5 times, or rather Nelson has thrown 5 times, and he has completed 3. Fletcher Smith has gone in at cornerback, replacing Lamar Parrish. Fletcher, the veteran, of course, in his 5th year. Parrish is a rookie, and he'll put Fletcher Smith over to work on Gary Collins. Both Bengal cornerbacks tied up on the line of scrimmage. Nelson drops back to pass. Fires over in the right flat. Fair Hooker can't catch it inbounds. He caught the ball, but he was out of bounds over in front of the Bengals bench. Mike Reed had a good pass rush that time on Bill Nelson. And you'll hear both of us say that many times before the year is over, and we've said it many times up to now. Mike Reed, the Bengals left tackle, tremendously quick. And he's really destined, barring injury, to be a superstar in professional football. So with the pass incomplete at the Browns' 42-yard line, it'll be 2nd and 10 for Cleveland. They come out with Collins to the right. Hooker split only about 3 yards wide to the left. This time they go into the I formation. Morin goes out left. Bo Scott and Leroy Kelly are the running backs. On a draw play, Leroy Kelly is hammered by Mike Reed. Reed, who smells out that trap play extremely well, just bolted through, and of course there's nobody to block him. They try to block behind the line of scrimmage, but Reed is so quick reacting, that he just goes down in a very low position.
What's your favorite sport? Well, you'll get all the scores, no matter what it is, all the time on WAKR Akron.
Impossible.
He's drawn praise not only from his own teammates, but from the opposition as being one of the quickest men off the ball that they've ever seen.
So the Browns have a 3rd and 13 now at their own 39-yard line. Nelson dropping back to pass. Look, fires far downfield, intended for Gary Collins. Knocked away at the last moment by Fletcher Smith on a beautiful play. Collins had about a half a step on Fletcher Smith, and Fletcher just reached up around his shoulder and knocked that ball away, way down near the Bengals' 25-yard line, and Collins comes off disgustedly, and the Cleveland Browns will be forced to boot. An excellent defensive play by Fletcher Smith. So Lamar Parrish is the deep man, Kenny Graham the short man, as Cockroft will kick for the 2nd time in the afternoon. The boot will come from about the Cleveland 32-yard line. Snap from center is a good one. Cockroft gets the kick away. A good high spiral. Lamar Parrish all the way back at the 8-yard line. Running laterally across the field at the 10. A flag is down. He's out at the 30. Up to the 40 and dragged down at the 45, but I believe there was a clip that we could see back at the 8-yard line. Number 83 was knocked off his feet by a Bengal blocker back there, and the ball is coming back. Jim, we're up so high, you can see those things develop, and you can see that man turn, and you figure that it might be called a clip, that it would be a hairline play, and that's what the call is. That was a 53-yard boot by Cockroft, so the Bengals, instead of being out at their own 45-yard line, will be all the way back at their 3.
The angle we have from the top of the Lakefront Stadium here in Cleveland, as Phil said, is a great angle. It's difficult at times if a player has his side turned to you to see the number, but you get a beautiful view from up here, and you see everything that opens up.
Now, Jim, the Detroit Lions are getting off to a slow start like they did last Monday against the Bears. Washington leads Detroit 7-0 in the second quarter, and now the Giants lead the hapless Philadelphia Eagles 17-0 still in the first quarter. Bengals at their own 3, first and 10. Crabtree split left, Speedy Thomas to the right. To Jess Phillips, who tries to worm his way over right tackle, and he gets maybe a yard. Walter Johnson, the left tackle, and Ron Snido, the left end, were there to greet him. Now Ron Snido helps Jess Phillips to his feet. The game was a yard in the play at the 4-yard line. The Bengals will have a 2nd and 9. One of those costly penalties. Instead of the Bengals having good field position out at the 45, they're back at their own 4, 2nd and 9. They're 1 minute and 22 seconds with the clock running left here in this first quarter, and the Bengals have a 10-0 lead over the Browns. And the Browns have not been out of their own territory here in this first quarter. Crabtree left, Speedy Thomas right. Virgil Carter looks over that Brown defense. 6 men up on the line of scrimmage. Carter drops back to pass. Look, he's going to be tackled in the end zone for a safety. Walter Johnson got him. Virgil Carter tackled in the end zone by Walter Johnson, who burst through on him before he had any opportunity to do anything. So it's a 10-2 ball game now. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Bengals Football Network.
Next Saturday, Ohio State faces Minnesota. And Sunday, it's the Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs, all on WAKR Akron.
Bill Samp along with Jimmy Crown back at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland. So after the safety now, the Bengals will either be able to punt or kick off, but they'll have to do it from their own 20-yard line. Virgil Carter no sooner turned around in the end zone than Walter Johnson was right on top of him. And of course, this gives the Browns now good opportunity for field position. The Browns scored a safety last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now have one here toward the end of the first quarter. So the Bengals lead is 10-2. Tom Shane and Walt Sumner are the deep men for the Cleveland Browns. They're back at about the 22-yard line. Dave Lewis is in the ball game, so the Bengals will punt. And of course, they get the high one to give a little better chance for downfield coverage. And this is where you need a good, booming, high punt. Lewis looking at his teammates along both sides to make sure they're lined up right. The Browns have their wedge set up at the 35. There's Lewis's kick, and it's a low driving one. It's not good. Taken at the 35-yard line, up to the 40, to the 45. Now reversing his field. Getting a block at midfield, down to the Browns. Bengals 45 to the 40 and run out of bounds at the 39-yard line is Ken Brown. Lewis did not get the good boot, and Ken Brown made a sparkling run back. He came to the right side of the field, then reversed himself, outran a couple of Bengals tacklers, and the Browns are in great field position at the Bengals 39-yard line. That was a 40-yard boot by Dave Lewis, but it was low. Gary Collins right, Fair Hooker left. The Browns at the Bengals 34-yard line. I believe I said 39, it's 34. Bo Scott trying the left side, gets a couple of yards as he went between tackle and end. Hammered down on the right side by Bill Berge, the middle linebacker. Ken Dyer was over there. Royce Berry had circled the play. They put the ball at the 32-yard line. So it'll be a gain of 2, and it'll be 2nd and 8. 30 seconds now left in this first quarter.
Ken Brown, of course, was one of the young men the Browns just activated this year. He's 5'10", 205-pound, 25-year-old with no college experience, but he was a real pro on that run back.
Again, Collins right. To the left side is Fair Hooker. The Browns 2nd and 8 at the Bengal 32. Up the middle goes Leroy Kelly. Fights his way inside the 30 to about the 28-yard line before Ken Avery pushes him back. Had help from Steve Chamazak, the right tackle. And there the first quarter comes to an end here at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland. With a score, the Bengals 10, the Browns 2.
Akron Savings, first choice for savings. It's first for convenience. There's an Akron Savings near you. Or you can save more time and save by mail. Your nearest mailbox will be Akron Savings. First choice for savings. It's first for confidence. One of the largest in the state. Akron's experience has been working for you since 1888. Akron Savings. First choice for savings. It's first for the future. Akron Savings provides the plan. Your families are enjoying owning a home community where we say Akron Savings, first choice for savings.
Jimmy Crum along with Phil Samp at jam-packed Lakefront Stadium in Cleveland, where starting the second quarter, the Bengals lead the Cleveland Browns 10-2. And back home at Riverfront Stadium, Bobby Tolan is homered. And in the third inning, the Reds lead the Orioles in the World Series 4-0.
The Browns at the 28 have a 3rd and 4. They have Hooker to the left, Gary Collins to the right. Nelson dropping back to pass. Looks, fires over the middle. It's complete down at the 15-yard line. Fighting his way inside the 10 is Milt Morin. On the key 3rd and 4 play, Nelson went to his tight end, Milt Morin, who caught the ball at the 15-yard line and then dragged the Bengal tackler down to the 9. Lamar Parrish and Ken Dyer finally dragged him down. We'll call it the 10-yard line. It's just inside the 10, and the Browns will have 1st and goal.
Morin came into the ballgame as the Browns' leading receiver. He caught 7 for 132 yards, an average of 18.9. He has yet to score a touchdown on a pass reception, but he was trying to go all the way in on that one.
Veteran guard Gene Hickerson is matched up with Mike Reed. And that'll be an interesting duel all afternoon. So the safety has really changed this game around. Nelson drops back to pass. Fires over to Hooker, incomplete, flags are down. And it's interference against Holmes. At the 1-yard line, Ken Riley was covering Fair Hooker, and it looks as though it'll be pass interference against Riley. It will give the Browns the ball at the 1-yard line. That's it. Pass interference called against Riley, and it's 1st down, goal to go at the 1. Chip Glass, another tight end, has gone into the Browns lineup, replacing Fair Hooker. And Willie Lee Jones has gone in on the goal line defense, replacing Ken Dyer. So the Browns on the interference call have 1st and goal at the 1, and how that safety changed things around, because the Browns had great field position after the run back by Brown, and now they moved it down to just 1 yard away from the goal line. The Bengals with 7-8 men right up close on the line of scrimmage. Leroy Kelly smothered back at the 3-yard line. Mike Reed burst through the line and wrapped Leroy Kelly up back at about the 3 or 4 yard line. Great individual play by Mike Reed. They put it at the 3 for a loss of 2, and it'll be 2nd and goal. Kelly tried to swing out to his right, but he really never got out of the starting block. We're early here in the second quarter with the Browns trailing 10-2. Kelly has a total of 2 yards on the afternoon now rushing. Of course, he's undoubtedly bothered by that sprained ankle. He hasn't been able to practice at full go. The Browns up at the line of scrimmage. Nelson looks over the tight Bengal defense. Nelson drops back to pass. Fires off on a flat touchdown to Leroy Kelly. Kelly caught the ball about at the 1. Berge was a couple of yards away from him. And all of a sudden, as a result of that safety and the corresponding field position that followed, the Browns are right back in the ball game. It's now 10-8, and Don Cockcroft goes in to attempt the extra point. So the Browns have scored on a 3-yard pass from Bill Nelson to Leroy Kelly. And Leroy Kelly can hurt you in a lot of ways, not only running but receiving. Mike Fitz will hold, and Don Cockcroft will attempt the extra point. The lines are down. Ball snapped, kick up in the air, it's good. So time is called for 13:27. Left here in the second quarter at Riverfront Municipal Stadium in Cleveland. The score is the Bengals 10 and the Browns 9.
It's a touchdown. Yes, it's always a touchdown when you visit the George Ellis Sports Center, 1763 West Exchange, in the Wallhaven building. George, one of the top officials in the National Football League, is a friend of every sportsman, young and old, male or female. If you have school children in your family, you'll always find what you're looking for at George Ellis Sports Center. They have the new J5B top-grade collegiate football, regularly $19.95 for just $16.95. They have a fine selection of football and basketball shoes, as well as all the other things young athletes and old athletes need. For the younger set, there are youth football outfits, complete uniforms that are duplicates of uniforms worn by the Browns, the Packers, and the Jets. They come in small, medium, and large. And the Ellis Sports Center has colorful NFL, AFL pennants. And here's another great special, a famous make basketball. Regular $12 ball, trade in any old ball regardless of condition, and get a new basketball for just $10. That's George Ellis Sports Center, Wallhaven Building. They're open 6 days a week. The George Ellis Sports Center.
Jimmy Crum along with Phil Samp back at Lakefront Stadium. Phil, you want to produce from all the stations that are with us on the network?
Hey, Jim, right after the kickoff, we'll get to it. Paul Robinson and Lamar Parrish are the deep men as Cockcroft gets set to kick off. The Bengals now just a short time ago leading 10-0 have seen that lead cut to 10-9 on a safety and a Browns touchdown. So Cockcroft getting set to boot. Advances on the ball, and there's the kick. It's high. Right at the goal line, it's taken by Perry. Up to the 10, to the 15, to the 20, down right at the 20-yard line. There was another necktie tackle that slowed him down. The man who slowed him down was Erich Barnes, and then he was dropped by Joe Jones. So right at the 20, the Bengals go to work. Here are some more of the stations that are on our network for the Bengals broadcast this year. WIMA in Lima, WMAO, or OA in Marietta, WCLT in Newark, Ohio, WNXT in Portsmouth, Ohio, WIZE in Springfield, WMWM in Wilmington, of course, where the Bengals hold their training camp. And we're happy to welcome them aboard for what promises and already has been an exciting season. The Bengals at the line of scrimmage. Handoff goes to Jess Phillips, fights his way up over the middle, gets about 7 yards as he bucks over the 25, out to perhaps the 27-yard line before Walter Johnson and Jerry Shirk, the two tackles, can bring him down. The gain is a little over 6 as they spot the ball just over the 26-yard line. He went right over Rufus Mays. He wanted to come over the right side, apparently, but the hole closed, and then he reversed himself in that inimitable Phillips fashion, went back over the left side. Guy Dennis and Pat Masson alternating, bringing in the plays. The Bengals said, we'll call it the 26, have 2nd and 4. As Speedy Thomas split right, Eric Crabtree to the left. Robinson and Jess Phillips in behind Virgil Carter, who is 7 for 7 in the passing department. Hand off to Paul Robinson, running wide. He retreats back to the 20, cuts in, gets to the 25, and just about back to the line of scrimmage. Robinson dropped back about 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage as he was rolling out that way. Jack Gregory, the right end, was the man who made the stop. And he gained a couple of feet on the play, and at the 27-yard line, the Bengals will have a 3rd and 3. Now the crowd imploring the Browns to hold. We see a Bengals booster sign down in the end zone. We mentioned there are 5 or 6 busloads of Cincinnati people who came up here. Now on 3rd down and 3. Crabtree is tight on the left side, and Speedy Thomas out on the right side. Split about 5 yards wide. Virgil Carter looks over the Browns defense. Handoff goes to Paul Robinson, and he's got the first down as he was knocked down at the 29, went head over heels. Dale Lindsey and Jim Houston dropped him, but he got his shoulder and the ball just up over the 30-yard line, and that is going to be close enough that they're going to measure. Rufus Mays and Bob Johnson provided the hole, but it's going to be very close. The ball is about a football length and a half over the 30-yard line, and it's just about where they had to go. And it is a first down by a matter of some just inches. So at the 30, the Bengals have made it 1st and 10. The Browns looking for a pass, I think, on 3rd and 3.5. That's right in that no man's land distance, Jim, where it's tough to make it on a run.
Well, and against a veteran ball club like the Cleveland Browns, it's tough anywhere on the field.
Detroit has scored a field goal, now trail Washington 7-3 in the second quarter. Now Bruce Coslett is split wide to the right. In the slot is Speedy Thomas and Eric Crabtree to the left. The Bengals will call it the 31-yard line, 1st and 10. Bengals lead 10-9 in the game. Carter dropping back to pass. Looks, fires over the middle. It's complete. Crabtree at the 40. Dragged down at the 42. Got away from Walt Sumner. Finally pulled down by Jim Houston. But a flag is thrown at the 41-yard line. And let's see what the call is. It's going to come back. There was some infraction committed by Speedy Thomas, was the man they pointed to. The ball goes back to the 26-yard line. Let's get the call from referee Tommy Bell. Flipping. So it nullifies the first down at the 42 and brings the ball back to the 26-yard line. At the 41-yard line, just in the vicinity where the ball was caught, Speedy Thomas was guilty of the clip. So the Bengals at the 26 have to come out to the 41 for a first down. So it'll be 2nd down. First down and 15 yards to go for the first. The Bengals out of the huddle. Speedy Thomas split right. And Crabtree out to the left. Jess Phillips and Paul Robinson are the running backs. Carter gives off to Robinson, who goes nowhere. Tries to run over the left side. And he is nailed by Billy Andrews.
The game continues at the beginning of side 2.
Nowhere. Tries to run over the left side, and he's nailed by Billy Andrews, the linebacker, on that side. But again, a flag is thrown on the play. The interference was stacked up in front of Robinson that time, and he had no place to go. Now they're going to mark off a penalty this time against the Cleveland Browns.
It looked like the defensive right tackle, number 72, Jerry Shirk, had made some movement in that line before the ball was snapped, and that apparently was it.
So here we are, just about back where we started. It's still first down for the Cincinnati Bengals, but now they have about 9 yards to go. Actually, it was about 14 to go before. 10 minutes and 35 seconds left in this second quarter. The Bengals lead in the ball game 10-9. Buffalo and Pittsburgh now 3-3 in the second quarter. Again, it's that slot formation with a wide split to the right. Coslett is split, but the Bengals had a little problem coming out of the huddle, and they drop back and want a timeout. Still time is called with 10:35 left here in the second quarter at Municipal Stadium. The score, the Bengals 10, the Browns 9.
Duke's a winner all the time. Duke's a winner all the time. Duke's a winner all the time.
What makes Duke the winner? Maybe it's that delicious Pilsner flavor, or maybe it's the new Duke Cooler Chest, an aluminized 12-can carton that keeps Duke cold and pleasure-packed 4 to 6 hours. Pick up a Duke Cooler Chest, a new innovation in beer pleasure from the winner. You be a winner, too. Enjoy a Duke.
Duke's a winner all the time. Duke's a winner all the time.
People know a good thing when they taste it. We're now selling over 1 3/4 million Duke beers a day. Try a Duke. You'll taste why.
Virgil Carter has now completed 8 out of 8 passes for 108 yards. It is first down, 9 yards to go at the 31-yard line. Here's Phil.
Now Bruce Coslett split to the left. Harry Crabtree is out on the slot on that side, and Speedy Thomas out to the right. The Bengals at their own 31. Carter in a draw play to Paul Robinson up the middle to the 35-yard line before he's wrestled down by the middle linebacker, Jim Houston. The draw trap up the middle gets about 4 yards. So it'll be 2nd and 5. The Bengals at their own 35-yard line. Washington has come back with a field goal after the Lions got one, so Washington leads Detroit 10-3 in the second quarter. New York 17, Philadelphia 3 in the second quarter. And also in the second quarter, Buffalo and Pittsburgh are 3-3. Here the Bengals lead 10-9. The Bengals have 2nd and 6 at their own, or 2nd and 5 at their own 35. Crabtree is tight on the left. Speedy Thomas out about 8 yards wide to the left. Rolling out is Carter. Throws out on the flats. Complete and out of bounds goes Speedy Thomas up at the 43-yard line right in front of the Browns bench. Erich Barnes rode him out. But it's another Bengal first down as the play is good for about 9 yards. You know, one of the questions at the Touchdown Club meeting on Friday, Jim, that the Bengals hold every week was, why don't the Bengals use the down-and-out pattern more, the quick outs, because the other teams seem to use it to great advantage against the Bengals, and they're running Speedy Thomas with it on Erich Barnes this afternoon, and Speedy was the guest that particular day. He knew it, but he didn't say anything. 43, 1st and 10. Crabtree out 10 yards wide to the left. Handoff goes to Jeff Phillips, who's got no place to go. He's wrapped up by Walter Johnson, first of all, and they tried to cut back in, and Ron Snido was right there, so were 2 or 3 other Browns. That play was held to no gain. There may have been a slight loss on the play. Let's see where they put the ball. Right at the 43-yard line, so it's no gain, and it'll be 2nd and 10. 9.5 minutes left in this second quarter. A very, very pleasant day here in Municipal Stadium in Cleveland. Ernie Wright and Mike Wilson are the offensive tackles. Rufus May is the left guard, Bob Johnson the center, and of course Guy Dennis and Pat Matson alternated the messenger spot, right guard, bringing in the plays. Both Jeff Phillips and Paul Robinson and Virgil Carter have gone all the way thus far. The Browns in a 5-man line with the middle linebacker up close. Carter drops back to pass. Look, fires over the middle, incomplete. It was intended for Speedy Thomas. He led him too far. Erich Barnes was back there, so was Walt Sumner. And that's the first one that Carter has missed this afternoon, and he may have thrown that one away because of the fact of the tight coverage. He had hit 9 in a row before finally missing that one.
Once again, Virgil Carter got some fine protection. The pocket set up beautifully. As it began to break down just a little bit, he stepped forward into the pocket, and as Phil said, because of the tight coverage, perhaps overthrew that one intentionally because everyone downfield was pretty well covered.
Now the Bengals have 3rd and 10 at their own 43. The Browns loosen up a bit in the backfield. The cornerbacks dropped back a yard or two deeper than they normally might be. Let's see if the Browns put on the blitz. 3rd and 10, an obvious passing situation. They're rushing with 4 men. A pass out in the flat to Jeff Phillips. Gets away from 1 man, 2. Can't get away from the 3rd and the 4th, and he's knocked down at the 47-yard line. Jerry Shirk missed him, and he was finally dropped by Ernie Kellerman. So the play gained about 4 yards, but of course it'll be short, and the Bengals will have to punt. Tom Shane drops back in the deep spot. Walt Sumner goes back with him. Dave Lewis to punt for the Bengals. The line of scrimmage is the 47. Look over this huge crowd of about 85,000 people here at Municipal Stadium. The line of scrimmage is the 47. The snap from center is a good one, and Lewis gets away a high spiral. The chain takes back at the 10-yard line, comes straight up the middle to the 15, gets away, a flag is down, he's dropped at the 17-yard line. Bob Johnson was the man who brought him down. That was a 53-yard boot by Dave Lewis. The penalty flag was thrown at the 21-yard line. One official holds up his hand indicating it's against the Browns. And probably clipping as they walk it off half the distance to the goal line. Take it back to the 8-yard line. Tommy Bell comes out with a signal of personal foul, clipping. So at the 8-yard line, the Browns are backed up near their goal line now, and they'll have 1st and 10. After the next play, we'll give all the stations a chance to identify themselves. 8 minutes and 10 seconds left to play in this second quarter. Bengals holding on to a slim 1-point lead, 10-9. Browns huddling in their own end zone, break and come out. They send Hooker to the left. Gary Collins goes to the right. Bo Scott and Leroy Kelly have gone all the way at the running back positions. Cornerbacks up within 3-4 yards of the receiver. To Leroy Kelly, come wide around to the left, out at the 10-yard line to the 15 and run out of bounds at the 16. Kenny Graham, the strong side safety, along with Ken Avery, the linebacker on that side, finally pushed him out of bounds, and they say at about the 17-yard line. So it's a gain of about 9 yards. Let's pause 10 seconds now for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Bengals Football Network.
What's your favorite sport? Well, you'll get all the scores, no matter what it is, all the time on WAKR Akron.
Steelers have come up with a touchdown in the second quarter and now lead Buffalo 10-3. That's the only change on the scoreboard from the previous scores we gave you.
Paul Brown paces up and down in front of the Bengal bench on the far side of the field. The Browns have a 2nd and 1 at their own 17. Leroy Kelly knifes in over left guard and gets the first down up to the 20-yard line before he's pushed back to the 18. Ron Carpenter was the primary tackler. Ken Avery, the linebacker on that side, was in to help out. So the Browns have a 1st and 10 at their own 20. Clock running with 7:45 left here in this first half. Bob Trumpy is in uniform on the far side of the field, but probably will not play. Trumpy somehow has had trouble with that ankle, but he was kicked in the ankle last week against Houston. It's been sore after every ball game, but particularly sore this week, and he hasn't been able to practice and has difficulty walking. So the Browns out of the huddle have Collins to the right. Nelson going back to pass. Throws out in the flat. Bo Scott drops it. Was it a lateral? Back at the 5-yard line. Royce Berry was right back there. No, it's ruled a forward pass. So it's incomplete. And it'll come back to the 20. And I think some of the Bengals are questioning the fact whether or not that might have been a lateral. It was very, very close. They'll bring the ball back to the 20-yard line, and the Browns will have it 2nd and 10. Nelson attempted to throw to Bo Scott out to his right. And when Scott dropped the ball, he went for it in a hurry, and Royce Berry was right there on top of him. Lamar Parrish is back in at that left side cornerback spot. Fletcher Smith came in a few series of plays. I think Lamar went out to get a little instruction on Gary Collins, who's one of the real crafty veterans among the wide receivers. Nelson again going back to pass. Same play. Out to Scott at the 15. Up to the 20. Gets to the 25, to the 30. 35 all the way out to the 38-yard line. Ron Carpenter finally dragged him down along with Lamar Parrish, and it didn't work the first time. And the Browns came right back with it. Kenny Graham down at the bottom of the pile, all the way out to the 39-yard line for a 19-yard gain and a Browns 1st down.
Well, as they always say, Phil, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And that's what the Browns did. The first one didn't work to Bo Scott, but that one worked beautifully. Unfortunately.
Nelson has completed 6 out of 11 passes. Browns 1st and 10 at their own 39. Quick pitch. Leroy Kelly coming wide to the left. Ken Avery slowed him up, and Ron Carpenter drags him down. But not until he got about 6 yards off of the 47. Steve Chamazak over there to help out with the tackle. Kelly on the quick pitch. Got around on the left side, and they spot the ball as they bring it in at the 46-yard line, so it's a 7-yard gain, and it'll be 2nd and 3.
Ken Avery, of course, the right side linebacker in the play who finally forced Kelly out of bounds, has seen Kelly many times before. Avery, of course, spent some time with the New York Giants. And Ken was talking this week, thinking about Kelly. He said he used to kill us when I was with the Giants, a couple hundred yards a game.
Gary Collins is flanked right this time. They're tight on the left side. 2nd and 3. Nelson with the ball rolling out to his right. Fires far down, intended for Collins, who can't quite get it down to the 25-yard line. He did that familiar Z-out pattern, and he had Parrish beaten down there by about 5 yards, but Nelson overthrew him. He faked in toward the middle, down at about the 35, then cut toward the sidelines at the 30, and Collins led him about 2 feet too far. So it'll be 3rd down and 3 now for the Browns at their own 46-yard line. I think Parrish learned something on that one, Jim. A great fake by Collins. Now Fletcher Smith comes in to replace Parrish at the cornerback spot on the left side.
Collins has scored on 1 touchdown pass so far this year for the Browns in regular season play, and had that one not been overthrown, he'd have had another 6-pointer for sure.
Chuck Weber, the defensive backfield coach and coordinator, talking to Parrish over there. So the Browns, with that no man's distance we were talking about before, 3rd and 3, a little far to depend on the run. Let's see what they do. Collins to the right and Hooker is to the left. Collins dropping back to pass. Has good protection. Now he throws over the middle. It's incomplete. Milt Moran, and the flag was thrown on the far side of the field. Moran was tripped and fell down, but both men were going for the ball, and they're going to call pass interference against the Bengals. And the officials who were right on top of the play did not call it. It was called 25 yards away by the official on the far side of the field. Paul Brown stands hands on hips, and there's one of those calls again. At the 47-yard line, it's an automatic 1st down for the Browns.
Actually, Phil, the man who called the official who called it was a greater distance away than that. The official who called it was standing clear back by the far sideline, right along the 30-yard line, and he had to come clear over to the opposite side of the field to make the call.
Standing on that far side of the field, he was 23 yards away, to be exact. So they send Collins to the right, Hooker to the left. And the Browns retain control and have a 1st down. To Leroy Kelly running wide to the right. He's got room at the 45, down to the 40, to the 35, all the way down to the 33-yard line he goes. Ken Avery, linebacker, was the man who finally tripped him up. Dyer was over there to help out. And quick pitch is starting to get distance now as they got outside Berry and Beauchamp that time. And at the 32-yard line, it's a 15-yard gain and another Browns 1st down. The Bengals had a 10-0 lead in this ball game when Walter Johnson dropped Virgil Carter in the end zone for a safety. And the following kickoff, the Browns went all the way down to about the Bengal 34-yard line and then went in to score. And that's where we stand at 10-9. Now the Browns are at the Bengals 32. Hooker comes to the left. Gary Collins goes to the right. Nelson fakes, drops back to pass. Looks, hit, and dropped. It's a loose ball. Picked up Royce Berry to midfield. Down to the 40. Nobody near him. Berry will go for the touchdown. Nelson was daring. And Royce Berry picked up the loose ball at about the Bengals' 45-yard line. He was gypped out of one last week. And this one wasn't to be denied. And Berry showed those good hands again on the full run. He picked that ball up and ran it back about 55 yards for a touchdown. And how quickly things happen. The Bengals are out in front now, 16-9.
Well, the Bengals, who at one time led 10-0, saw the complexion of the game change quickly. The Browns came back, closed it to 10-9, and now the Browns have seen the complexion change quickly as the Bengals go back on top.
Jim, the blitz was on, and Berge was the man who slammed Nelson and knocked that ball out of his hand. There's Moolman's kick. It's up, and it's good. So with time called here at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, 5 minutes and 12 seconds left to play in the 1st half. It's now the Bengals 17, the Browns 9.
They're here now. The 1971 Chevrolets at Lyle Chevrolet, 2306 Front Street on the famed $1 Million Mile. Don't wait, football fans. Get up to Lyle Chevrolet Monday Night Sure and see the all-new Chevys for 1971. If you think that new Vega's nice, will you see the Nova, the Chevelle, the Camaro, the Monte Carlo, and those out-of-this-world all-new Impalas and Caprices? You know, the Chevrolet Motor Division says only 3 parts on the 1971 models are the same as on the 1970s. That's how new they are. And Lyle Chevrolet in the Falls has them. Now, Chevrolet for 1971. And they've got a good stock of new cars, too. You'll be able to see the one you're interested in, from the Vega to the Caprice. And say, fans, be sure and ask Corin DeMoss to sell you a ticket to the Akron U Dayton Shrine game on October 24th. But whatever you do, see the all-new Chevrolets now at Lyle Chevrolet, 2306 Front Street on the $1 Million Mile, home of America's #1 car.
Chevrolet!
Linebacker Bill Berge really lowered the boom on Bill Nelson, and as Royce Berry headed for the end zone, Berge came up and shook hands with Mr. Nelson.
Homer Jones and Tom Shane are the deep men as Moolman prepares to kick off. They haven't had a run back yet, and I don't know, they will not have one on this one. It's 5 yards beyond that end line. He put that one out about 75 yards again. It'll come out to the 20-yard line, and that's where the Browns will go to work. Now trailing 17-9 with a little over 5 minutes left to play in this first half. And how quickly the Browns changed the complexion of the game, and how quickly Royce Berry changed it after picking up that ball and running it back somewhere in the vicinity of 50, 52 to 55 yards. We'll get the official figures right out near midfield where Royce picked it up. So the Browns are at their own 20-yard line, 1st and 10. Bear Hooker comes to the left. Gary Collins goes right. Bo Scott and Leroy Kelly, the running backs, in behind Bill Nelson. Bengals with a standard, and Leroy Kelly cuts in over the right side. Now goes wide, and Al Beauchamp collars him and drags him down at the 22. Kelly actually slipped as he cut in out at the 20 and fell right into Beauchamp's arms out at the 22-yard line. So give Leroy 2, and it'll be 2nd and 8. None of the scores have changed up on the board. Oh, Mike Reed is limping as he goes off the field on the far side, and it may be that old knee. It doesn't look too bad, shaking it off a little bit. Willie Lee Jones goes in at left tackle. Paul Brown, the trainer Marv Collins, and equipment manager Tom Gray right over there to have a look at him. Reed, of course, has trouble with the tendons and ligaments around that knee. Nelson dropping back to pass. Looks, fires over the middle. Collins has him down at the 38-yard line. A flag is thrown. It's going to be called pass interference against the Bengals on Fletcher Smith. Collins caught the ball. And Collins is coming out of the ball game. He caught the ball at the 38-yard line. Fletcher Smith was right on him, and that was a fine reception. Homer Jones is going in to replace Collins, who is shaken up a little bit or injured on that play. So the Browns have a first down at their own 38-yard line with 4:21 left in this first half. In case you missed it when we gave it early, last night the Miami Dolphins beat the New York Jets 20-6, and the Dolphins have won 3 out of 4. So Homer Jones, acquired in that trade with the New York Giants, comes to the left, and Fair Hooker is on the right side. Nelson fakes a handoff, drops back to pass, fires a screen, it's complete at the 40-yard line. Up the midfield, Leroy Kelly, down to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, and dragged down, gets away. He's at the 15-yard line, down to the 10, and finally hauled down at the 8-yard line. Screen pass to Leroy Kelly, and he came all the way across the field. Got away from one man at the 20-yard line, got all the way down to the Bengals' 7 or 8-yard line, and Kelly may just be completely out of breath. He's getting up very, very slowly. He's just completely tired out at the 7-yard line. That was good for 55 yards, and the Browns have a 1st and goal at the 7. Kelly is being replaced.
Great individual effort by Leroy Kelly. At least 3 times he was hemmed in and had nowhere to go, but with that quick, shifty move of his, and with the speed, with his strength and speed combined, he did a lot of that on his own and took it down, and it's marked it finally at the 7-yard line, and that's where the Browns have it, 1st and goal to go.
Mike Reed is back in the lineup. Reese Morrison has replaced Leroy Kelly at running back. Homer Jones to the right, Hooker to the left this time. It's Gary Collins back in. Nelson straight up the middle goes Bo Scott to the 5 to the 4-yard line. Scott with his head down, straight up the middle. Inside the 5 to about the 4. Mike Reed, Carpenter, Chamazak, everybody in the middle of the line. So it's a gain of 3, and it'll be 2nd and goal for the Browns at the 4. The Bengals lead in the ball game 17-9. In case you may have joined us late or anywhere along the way, that represents a Cleveland safety and a touchdown. The Bengals got a 50-yard field goal from Moolman, and they've scored twice. Collins split right, Hooker left. The Browns at the 4 as Nelson drops back to pass. Fires to Gary Collins, knocked down right at the goal line by Fletcher Smith. Fletcher's mad at himself for not intercepting that ball. He got one hand up, but Collins tried to run it down and out in the goal, or in the end zone. Now he'll have to watch for the pass because Leroy Kelly, who was caught 1 of 3 yards for a touchdown, is back in the ball game, replacing Reese Morrison. 3rd and goal for the Browns at the Bengals 4. There are 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to play in this first half.
It's going to be an interesting confrontation later this afternoon out in Oakland, California, when the Raiders, who are 0-2-1, take on the Denver Broncos, who surprisingly are 3-0 at this stage of the season. That should be a real wild battle.
Hooker is tight on the left. Collins out about 4 yards wide on the right side. 3rd and goal at the 4. Nelson takes a handoff to Kelly. Goes back, throws over the middle. Touchdown to Milt Morin. Morin beats Kenny Graham into the end zone. And the Browns now can move back within a point. It's now 17-15. Don Cockcroft will come in to attempt the extra point. It was a 4-yard touchdown pass from Bill Nelson to Milt Morin.
6 plays. The Browns move 80 yards, with the big one being the 55-yard screen pass to Leroy Kelly, who took it all the way down to the 7-yard line, and from there it took only 3 more plays for the Browns to score.
Phipps will hold. Cockcroft will attempt the extra point. Ball is placed. The kick is good. So it's now 17-16, and again the Bengals are nursing a 1-point lead. We'll have 3 minutes and 16 seconds to do something about it as the Browns will kick off. As we look up at the board, there are no changes in any of the scores that we gave to you. The Bengals led 10-2 at the end of the first quarter and an 82-yard touchdown drive. The Browns have scored twice on short passes, 1 of 3 yards to Leroy Kelly and 1 of 4 yards, the last one to tight end Milt Morin. Bowman kicked a field goal on the first series of plays, and the next time the Bengals had the ball, they went 82 yards to score. And then the Browns got the safety, making it 10-2, and they've scored their 2 touchdowns here in the second quarter.
Next week, of course, the Bengals will be back home against Kansas City. Right now, that game is scheduled for 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon, but it could be moved to Monday night if the Reds and Orioles are still playing in the World Series. And while we're worrying about that one, the Browns have a big one here at home next weekend against perhaps one of their biggest of the arch rivals, the Detroit Lions, who right now in the second quarter are trailing the Washington Redskins 10-3.
Paul Robinson and Lamar Parrish are back, standing at about the 2-yard line for the Bengals. It's the 17-16 ball game now. There's the whistle, and Cockcroft advances on the ball. The kick is high, and it's pretty good. Paul Robinson right at the 1, up to the 10, to the 15, laterally to the 20, to the 24-yard line before he collapses under a heap of white-jerseyed Cleveland Browns. So the Bengals will go to work at their own 24. Virgil Carter has gone all the way at quarterback this afternoon. He completed his first 9 passes in a row before missing one.
And now Paul Robinson is limping slightly as he goes back to the Cincinnati bench. And it looks like Essex Johnson. It's Essex Johnson who's coming on the field to replace Paul Robinson, who was limping slightly after returning that kickoff from the goal line back out to the 24.
Speedy Thomas comes to the right, and Eric Crabtree, who's gone all the way at the left receiving spot, is out that way. Carter, the quarterback, looks over the 6-man defensive wall. Carter drops back to pass, has time, looks, fires out in the flat, and Essex Johnson drops it at the 17-yard line. So at the 24, it'll be 2nd and 10, and I believe that unless Essex Johnson had been able to elude about 3 or 4 men and somehow work his way through a hole, had he held onto that ball, he could have been dropped for a loss of 4 or 5 yards. So at the 24, it'll be 2nd and 10. 2 minutes and 32 seconds left to play in this first half. The band's beginning to form down behind the end zone in the open end of this mammoth municipal stadium here in Cleveland.
And when Phil says bands, he means bands. We have 4 of them here at halftime this afternoon.
Speedy Thomas is inside on the right, Crabtree out to the left. Carter is now 10 for 12 in passing. Virgil drops straight back to pass again. Looks, fires over the middle. Thomas has it at the 30-yard line, and he's dropped. Hit there by Dale Lindsay, the left side linebacker, so the play is good for 6 yards. The 24 out to the 30, and the Bengals will have a 3rd and 6.
There is a flag on the play, though, Phil. It was thrown at about the 25-yard line. And the officials are talking amongst themselves now. And it appears that it will be against Cincinnati.
It's declined by the Browns. Didn't catch the penalty. What it was. But the Browns have declined it. So it'll be third down. And the Bengals have 4 yards to go for the first down. Clock shows 2 minutes and 18 seconds left to play in this second quarter. Crowd begins to roar to implore the Browns to hold here on this big third down situation. The Bengals want to hold on to the ball. Crabtree left, Speedy Thomas right. Carter rolling out to his left, drops back, being chased by Walter Johnson, and he's dropped back at the 27-yard line. The man who got him was Jack Gregory, the right end, and the Bengals will be forced to punt. Carter rolled out to the short side of the field. He was being pursued by Walter Johnson, and Jack Gregory, the right end, sifted through to drop him. They lost about 3 yards on the play, and Tom Shane, along with Walt Sumner, dropped back for the Browns. Dave Lewis, coming into the ball game, was the third best punter in the American Football Conference with a 45.2 average. We're at the 2-minute warning. Time has been called here. We'll stay here. As Jimmy mentioned, the Bengals scheduled to play Kansas City a week from now, next Sunday afternoon. Following that, the Bengals will go on the road for 3 straight games with Washington, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo. Well, we've had a dandy here at 17-16. The Bengals with a 1-point lead after quickly jumping off to a 10-0 lead in the ball game, but then the Browns came back.
Let's take, while we have a chance here before halftime, take a look at the scores that are on the scoreboard. Still in the second quarter, Washington leading the Detroit Lions 10-3, and the Lions are behind just as they were Monday night against Chicago. In the second quarter, the New York Giants leading the Eagles 17-3. Second period, Pittsburgh leading Buffalo 10-3. There'll be one game tomorrow night. That's Green Bay at San Diego. The other games this afternoon, the ones that have not yet started, Denver's at Oakland, Baltimore's at Houston, Atlanta at Dallas, New Orleans at St. Louis, Boston at Kansas City, and San Francisco at Los Angeles.
Dave Lewis is ready to boot. The line of scrimmage is the 27. Gets a good snap from center. Gets away a driving spiral and backs Tom Shane up to the 23-yard line. Comes up through the middle, hit and dropped by Eric Crabtree at the 26-yard line. That was vital that the Bengals get good coverage to keep the Browns out of possible field goal position here with 1 minute and 49 seconds left to play in this first half. At the 31-yard line, where the Browns will have the ball, that was a 49-yard kick by Lewis. The Browns come out without any huddle. They, of course, had a series of plays worked out on the sideline to conserve time. Bengals lead 17-16. Have Hooker out to the left, Gary Collins to the right. Leroy Kelly over the middle, slices his way through for a couple of yards out to about the 28 or 29-yard line. Royce Berry and Bill Berge were the men who stopped him. And again, the Browns don't have any huddle. Both teams have 2 timeouts remaining. Now Nelson goes back to pass. Looks, fires toward the sidelines, way over the head, threw it away, over the head of Gary Collins, which stops the clock. With 1 minute 24 left, and it'll be a third down now for the Cleveland Browns and about 7 yards to go for the first down. That, of course, not only stops the clock, but gives them a chance to huddle and for Nelson to see what the situation is to come up with a play.
And this, of course, becomes a very big, a very crucial third down play for the Cleveland Browns. 3rd and 7. You have to believe that they're going to put the ball in the air. And with only 1 minute and 24 seconds remaining, a lot could still happen.
Hooker is to the left and Gary Collins to the right. Nelson throws over the middle to Milt Moran, who has it at the 35, and he's wrestled back. He'll stop at the 35-yard line. It will be short of first down yardage, I believe. They put it at the 34-yard line. It is about 2 yards short, and the Browns will have to boot. Nelson just dropped back quickly, just threw right straight down over the middle to his tight end, Milt Moran. Bill Berge finally hammered him, or stopped him. He was never down, and then 3 or 4 other Bengals joined in to push him back. Solimar Parrish drops back in the deep safety. Kenny Graham is the short man. The Bengals now will get their hands on the ball, and the clock is running. Just 1 minute left to play, and the Bengals have 2 timeouts remaining. Don Cockcroft gets the snap from center, gets the kick away. It's over toward the left sideline, bounces 25. Parrish down, picks it up at the 19-yard line. Falls on it after he fumbled it, and a couple of Browns pile on top of him. But Parrish retained control of the ball. That was an end-over-end kick. Ken Brown was down there to cover quickly. So were 2 or 3 other Browns. He kicked that one away from Parrish over toward this near sideline. So at the 18-yard line, the Bengals will have 46 seconds to do something about it. Now 44 as the referee, Tommy Bell, signals the clock to run. And Virgil Carter is still running back onto the field. He's not in the huddle yet, and the clock is running. That was a 47-yard kick by Cockcroft. Well, let's see what the Bengals will do with the 30 seconds that they have remaining. As I said, both teams have 2 timeouts remaining. The Browns' timeouts are not important right at the moment. They won't use them. Speedy Thomas right. Crabtree goes left. Carter with the ball. Gives off to Jess Phillips, who slants off right tackle and is down at the 19-yard line by Billy Andrews, the right side linebacker. Made about a yard in the play. Carter figuring he might have the defense spread, looking for a pass. 4 seconds, the clock is running. The Bengals will do nothing about it. The first half will come to a close, and there's the gun, and it will. Jimmy Crum will be along with a conversation with Vince Costello, a few reminiscences about Municipal Stadium here, then his analysis of the first half following that. Our score at halftime here at Municipal Stadium is the Bengals 17, the Browns 16.
Stay tuned for 15 minutes of the latest news from the WAKR newsroom during halftime of today's game between the Bengals and the Browns. Brought to you in part by Marathon Oil and Duke Beer. Next Saturday afternoon, Ohio State hosts Minnesota. And you can hear the mighty Buckeyes at 1:15 on WAKR, Akron's top sports station.
57 degrees in Akron at 2:25. This is WAKR, Akron Spot for Sports.
Got those BC glasses all filled up for the big trip to Storyville, adults? Good, because it's time again for Uncle Buddy reads BC comics to the big kids.
Well, hi there, gang. It's your old Uncle Buddy with another super groovy BC comic strip cartoon for Marathon. Well, today, Mr. Ant is walking up to Mrs. Ant, who's sitting on top of their anthill. That's their home. And he says, "Pack up, Maud. I just lost you in a card game." And she says, "How could you do such a dastardly thing?" And he says, "It wasn't easy, kid. I had a fold with 4 aces."
Thanks, Uncle Buddy. And say, you adults can get an attractive 12-ounce BC glass just like old Uncle Buddy's when you buy 8 or more gallons of gasoline at participating Marathon service stations, where you get satisfaction or your money back on all Marathon petroleum products and automotive services. And be sure to ask about the matching pitcher offer, too.
Or old Uncle Buddy will seed your lawn with crabgrass.
Now WAKR halftime news presented as a service of the Prentice Funeral Home. Now the news with Ted Wesley.
Current temperature at WAKR is 57 degrees. Weather Bureau, cloudy, a chance of showers and thunder showers through tomorrow. The complete forecast follows the news. Ravenna, the stiffest marijuana sentence ever handed down in Portage County, was thrown at an Akron youth yesterday. 21-year-old Rick Felber was given a sentence of 20 to 40 years in prison on the charges.
Bill Stamp along with Jimmy Crum back at Riverfront Stadium, where the Bengals will kick off to start the second half. Moolman has kicked off 3 times this afternoon. There has not been a run back on any of them. It's right to left as we look at the field. The Bengals defending the east goal and the Browns the west. Homer Jones and Tom Shane are the deep men. And Washington has scored another touchdown and leads Detroit 17-3 in the third quarter. There's the whistle, and there's Moolman's kick. It's another long one. This one backs Shane up about 6 yards, and he is not coming out. He started out for a step and then stopped. So it'll come out to the 20-yard line, and Cleveland will be in possession at that point. It's a 17-16 ball game. The Bengals out on top in an exciting first half of play, featured by long runs. All of the touchdowns were all of the short variety. Mike Reed is in there at tackle along with Steve Chomazak. Ron Carpenter and Royce Berry are the ends. Berge in the middle. The linebackers are Beauchamp and Avery. Fletcher Smith, Ken Riley are the cornerbacks. The Browns shift out of the I. Send Morin, or rather Collins and Hooker, both to the right. Handoff goes to Scott. Cuts in over left tackle at the 22, fighting and down. A loose ball, but it goes out of bounds before it can be picked up by Kenny Dyer. And he knocked over one of the officials, really ran right over him on the far side of the field. That ball was knocked out of Scott's hand, bounced for about 8 or 10 yards, but It went out of bounds before any Bengal could get to it. Reed, Chamazak, Kenny Graham were all there. So at the 22-yard line, it's a 2-yard gain. It'll be 2nd and 8.
Phil, we were talking earlier about the longest field goal by Lou Groza. I was just talking with Lou out behind the broadcasting booth here, and he said, hate to tell you, Jim, but he said that press book is wrong. He said my longest here was 53 and not 52, and that was back in the old All-American Conference.
Fair Hooker left, Gary Collins right. 2nd and 8, Browns to 22. Nelson goes back to pass. Looks for Kelly. Fires incomplete. Beauchamp was right there. Or rather, Bo Scott was the intended receiver. He dropped the ball at about the 19 or 20. So at the 22, it'll be 3rd and 8. Had he caught that ball, Beauchamp would have been there right to rack him up. The Reds scored a run in the 6th inning, so it's now 6-5 Baltimore at the end of 6. And Washington has scored another touchdown, Jim, and leads Detroit 24-3 in the 3rd quarter.
There's a big surprise.
Tell you how tough professional football is. There are only 3 undefeated teams after only 3 weeks of play. Los Angeles, Detroit, and Denver. And Detroit could fall by the wayside this afternoon. So it's 3rd and 8 for the Browns at their own 22. They have Collins to the left, or to the right, Fair Hooker to the left. Bengals started to blitz as Nelson drops back. A flag is down. Looks, fires over the middle. It's incomplete. Intended for Fair Hooker was the short receiver. The deep receiver was Gary Collins, and a flag was down. Now let's see if it was called against the Bengals or if they were drawn or just what the situation is. It's going to be a 5-yard mark-off against the Cincinnati Bengals if Bill Berge will get out of the way and let him walk off the 5 yards. There he does to bring the ball out to the 28-yard line. Berge didn't like the call too well and was standing in front of the official. So it'll be 3rd down now and about 2 yards to go.
5 yards against Cincinnati, outside, 3rd down.
Bengals have jumped across that line of scrimmage. Atlanta and Dallas are scoreless in the 2nd quarter. Pittsburgh leads Buffalo 10-3 at the end of a half. So now the Browns have a 3rd and a little over 2. Collins to the right, and they're tight on the left side. Handoff goes to Bo Scott, coming on the left side. He's up over the 30 to the 35-yard line. Ken Avery was the first man to get a hand on him. And then Kenny Graham, the strong side safety, dragged him down. But Bo Scott picked up 7 yards on the play. And it's 1st down for the Browns. That was a costly offside penalty against the Bengals. And they would have forced Cleveland to punt.
Royce Berry and Mike Reed were both in there very quickly and almost had Bo Scott behind the line of scrimmage, but he's got that great acceleration and just slipped away from both of them.
Bo, of course, played a number of years up in Canada after he left Ohio State, and this is his 2nd year in the National Football League. Nelson back to pass, throws to Collins, down and out. He has it out of bounds at the 47-yard line of the Browns. Fletcher Smith was on pass defense. Al Beauchamp almost got a hand on the ball as he dropped back in his zone, but Nelson threw the ball perfectly. And it's to the 47-yard line, a 12-yard gain, and another Brown 1st down. St. Louis leads New Orleans 7-0 in the 2nd quarter. The Browns took the opening kickoff at their 20 and have moved it out to their own 47. Bill Nelson is the quarterback. Leroy Kelly and Bo Scott are the running backs. Fair Hooker, the wide receiver, on the left side. Gary Collins on the right. Now they shift out of the eye and send Moore into the right in a double wing formation. Leroy Kelly out on the right side. Bo Scott about 4 yards behind. Takes the handoff. Scott in the middle of the line. Gets maybe a yard or so. And that's about all. Steve Chamazak wrapped him up. Mike Reed was there to help out. The ball is about a foot shy of the 50-yard line. So it'll be a long 2-yard gain, a short 3. About 7.5 yards to go. And the Browns have a 2nd down. The Bengals lead in the ball game 17-16. The lights have been on here at Municipal Stadium and have been all afternoon. Hooker goes to the left. That's the strong side. Collins comes out, split about 3 yards wide to the right. Again, it's a double wing as Leroy Kelly comes outside of Gary Collins on the right side. Bill Nelson goes back to pass. Looking, fires over in the flat. It's complete and out of bounds to Leroy Kelly in Bengal territory at the 44-yard line. Lamar Parrish was over there covering Leroy Kelly. Kelly was the short man on the pattern. Collins had gone down the same side deep, but a flag was thrown on the play. The flag is down at the Bengals' 42-yard line on the other side of the field, away from the play, and apparently the penalty is going to be against the Cleveland Browns. And it's a long one, 15 yards. Take the ball back to the 35-yard line. It is illegal use of hands against the Browns. Offensive interference, so instead of a 1st down back at the 35-yard line, for the Browns. It'll be second down. They have to go all the way to the Bengal 43, so that's 22 yards now, second and 22. The Browns send Hooker again to the left, Gary Collins to the right. Lamar Parrish and Ken Riley are the cornerbacks. Now Parrish goes right up on the line of scrimmage, nose to nose with Collins. Nelson drops back to pass, looks, fires long. Intercepted by Kenny Graham at the 35. He's got a lot of running room to the 40, up to midfield, down to the Browns 40, and down to the 33-yard line he goes. Kenny Graham picked that pass off, intended for Fair Hooker. And there was nobody back there, and the Browns are claiming that he fumbled, but he did not. He signaled the ball belongs to the Bengals. Kenny Graham down at the bottom of that pile, a little slow getting up. Kenny Graham is a little woozy as he gets up, is helped off the field. But at the 36-yard line, the Bengals have it intercepted, and that was a good run back. Graham intercepted that ball down about the 30-yard line and had a lot of room to run on the far side of the field with only about 3 or 4 Bengals out in front of him. So now Carter at quarterback, Crabtree to the left, Speedy Thomas to the right. Jess Phillips with the ball, running wide to the left, cuts in at the 35 and gets down to the 33-yard line. Bucked into Walt Sumner and gave him everything he had. Bowled over Sumner and picked up another couple yards. Billy Andrews, the right side linebacker, was there to help out. The ball is just short of the 33-yard line, so let's give Phillips 3, and it'll be second and 7. As Guy Dennis comes in with the play, and Pat Matson goes out.
Looked as though that play might have been designed as one of those slant plays off tackle again, but as just started his lateral movement, he saw that the hole was closed up, turned on the speed, and headed for the outside.
The doctors and the Bengal trainers overlooking at Kenny Graham on the bench. Graham was injured in that pile-up after he was tackled and intercepting the pass. So the Bengals have second and a long 7. Virgil Carter drops back to pass. Looks, fires down the middle. Incomplete. He had Bruce Coslett open down on the 7-yard line, and he led him too far. He had Ernie Kellerman beat by a full 3 or 4 yards. So it'll be third and 7 for the Bengals. Bruce Coslett, the tight end, has not caught a pass this afternoon. That's the first one that's been aimed in his direction, and he was open. But it's just an incompleted pass, and it'll be third and 7 for the Bengals at the 30. They'll make it third and 8. The ball closer to the 34-yard line.
It's a big third down play, and as the Bengals come up to the line of scrimmage, Horst Muhlman is limbering up that kicking leg on the far side of the field.
Cleveland with a 4-man line. The 2 linebackers up close. Another linebacker split off the side as Carter goes back to pass. Looks, fires to Phillips down to the 31, and he's wrapped up there by Billy Andrews, the right side linebacker. So the Bengals will fall short on the effort, and the field goal unit comes in. All points are important, of course. The Bengals lead by 1 in this ball game. And Muhlman, who has kicked a 50-yard field goal, will attempt one now, apparently, from the 39. Well, there's been a lot of talk all week about that fake field goal attempt last week, Jim, against the Houston. Argued pro and con. Sam Weitz will hold. The ball to snap back. Muhlman's kick is up in the air. It's plenty long. And it is no good. It's wide to the right. So time is called with 11:16 left to play in the third quarter here at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland. The score remains the Bengals 17, the Browns 16.
If you're a do-it-yourself or a fix-it-up man, then you know how aggravating it is to reach for tools or some odds and ends and you don't have them. Well, there's one hardware store in Akron where you'll find those odds and ends and any tool you may need, plus countless other items. It's South Akron Hardware, 1097 South Main Street. Don't run around from store to store looking for those hard-to-find items. Drive straight to South Akron Hardware and save time and money. South Akron Hardware carries a complete line of industrial hardware, paint, pipe, tools, building hardware, and cleaning supplies, as well as electrical and plumbing supplies. Everything needed for those necessary home repairs. Save time, save money. Do it yourself with supplies from South Akron Hardware, 1097 South Main Street in Akron. It's one of Akron's few remaining complete service hardware stores. South Akron Hardware is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, closed at noon on Saturday. South Akron Hardware, 1097 South Main in Akron.
As Horst Muhlman's 39-yard field goal attempt goes wide to the right, the sun begins to peek through here, trying to shine at Lakefront Stadium. And for the year now, Muhlman is 6 out of 9 in field goal attempts.
They send Collins to the right, Fair Hooker to the left, the running backs Leroy Kelly and Bo Scott. The Browns are on their own 20, first down. Handoff goes to Leroy Kelly, comes around the left side, cuts in, gets to the 25-yard line before he's sacked up. Al Coleman has replaced Kenny Graham at the strong side safety spot.
The game continues at the beginning of side 3, cassette number 2.
And before he's stacked up, Al Coleman has replaced Kenny Graham at the strong side safety spot. He was in on the tackle. Al Beauchamp was the primary tackler and help from Bill Berge. But it's a gain of 5, and it'll be 2nd and 5. We've played just a little over 4 minutes here in the third quarter. The Bengals got the ball when they forced Cleveland to boot. Or rather on the intercepted pass, and then Horst Muhlman missed the field goal. 2nd and 5 at the 25. Hooker to the left, Collins to the right. Leroy Kelly slanting in over left tackle. He's got about 4 of the yards. Bill Berge met him and dropped him, but Kelly fell forward. He was hit at the 27, got to the 29, so he's about a yard short of the first down. Chip Glass goes in to replace Fair Hooker. Glass is the tight end that gives him more blocking strength in the short yardage situations. New Orleans and St. Louis are 7-7 in the second quarter. There have been no other changes. The big upset brewing, Washington 24, Detroit 3 in the third quarter. Bengals with 6 men up on the line of scrimmage. Leroy Kelly running wide to the left, runs over his own men, and he's going to be hit and dropped for a loss. Back at the 27, the ball was fumbled, but was it blown dead? Yes, it was. The Browns have recovered. Kelly ran up the back of his own interference, and Royce Berry and Bill Berge and Ken Riley were all over there. And on third down and short yardage, the Browns elected to go wide, and Kelly was knocked down for a loss of a yard, and the Browns will have to punt. Time is called now with 9.5 minutes left to play. No, it is not called.
Johnson and Parrish back for the Bengals.
Cockcroft will go back to boot. Lamar Parrish and Essex Johnson, instead of Kenny Graham in the usual spot, is the short receiver. There's the snap back to Cockcroft, and he gets the kick away. It's a low kick. It bounces at the 35, bounces straight up in the air, goes back to the 40, and there it's down by a Cleveland Brown man. So a short kick and a bad bounce for Cleveland, and the Bengals are at the 40. Time is now called. 9:08 left in the third quarter here at Municipal Stadium. The score remains the Bengals 17, the Cleveland Browns 16.
A winner all the time. It's the
When the crowd is over, it's time for good friends and relaxation. It's also time for Duke beer, the winner in any crowd. Duke's mellow golden flavor just seems to make the scene. People know a good thing when they taste it. Ice cold Duke beer warms up the party like nothing else can. Be a winner, join the crowd, and try a Duke.
Duke's a winner all the time. Duke's a winner all the time.
People know a good thing when they taste it. We're now selling over 1 3/4 million Duke beers a day. Try a Duke. You'll taste why.
Nine minutes, 8 seconds remaining in the third quarter here at Lakefront Stadium in Cleveland. The Bengals leading the Browns 17-16. Cincinnati's ball 1st and 10 at its own 40-yard line.
Both Coslett and Thomas are out to the right. Crabtree to the left. Chip Myers has not played this afternoon thus far. Carter with the ball gives off to Jess Phillips up the middle. He's got a couple of yards. Walter Johnson hit him first, and then he's pushed back by Billy Andrews, the right side linebacker. Jess trying to use that forearm, couldn't ward off Andrews, but he got a couple of yards in the play up to the 42-yard line. So it'll be 2nd and 8. Now Pat Matson comes in. Guy Dennis goes out. We've had a scoreless third quarter here thus far in these first 6 minutes. The Bengals are at their own 42 after the boot by Don Cockcroft was only 34 yards. Now Thomas goes to the right and Crabtree comes to the left. And now as the Bengals come up to the line of scrimmage, they're going to change footballs. Bob Johnson shows what's wrong with it, and they get a new one. Rich Barnes and Walt Sumner are the quarterbacks. Mike Howell and Ernie Kellerman the safeties for the Browns. They have Lindsey and Andrews and Houston in the linebacking slots in their same front four. Virgil Carter, the quarterback, dropping back to pass, has good protection. Now a blitzing linebacker, and he's nailed. Jack Gregory got him. It was not a linebacker. It was Walter Johnson who blew through there finally and forced him out of the pocket, and then he was nailed. So it's back at the 34-yard line. It's a loss of 8 yards on the play, and the Bengals will now have 3rd and 16. That's the third time this afternoon now the Carter has been tackled, once in the end zone for a safety. Bengals come out of the huddle again. They have Bruce Coslett going wide to the right. Speedy Thomas will be in the slot. They stack up a linebacker and the cornerback right along with Eric Crabtree. Carter going to the left as the Browns try to stunt. Throwing over line, Paul Robinson is really hit at the 32-yard line by Dale Lindsey after taking that pass, and Robbie will bounce right up. Jerry Shirk was also there on the tackle, and as Robinson turned around, he ran right into those two, and they really lowered the boom on him. It was a loss of a yard in the play back to the 33, and the Browns defense really rocked hard here on that series of plays, and the Bengals will have to punt.
If Paul Robinson ever wondered what it might be like to be caught in a vice, he found out that time because he was really squeezed.
Walt Sumner and Tom Shane have dropped back. Sumner is the deep man at the 25, Shane at the 40. A low snap from center, but Lewis gets the kick away. It's a high boot and a good one. And it's bounced. No fair catch was signal. A scramble for the ball. Where is it? At the 23-yard line, and the Bengals have the ball. There was no fair catch called. A real big blunder by the Cleveland Browns because the ball had not touched anybody, and somebody tried to go for the ball then. And Ron Lamb recovered it for the Bengals at the 23-yard line. Sumner did not signal fair catch. He stepped in as though he was going to take the ball, then did not take it. It hit and bounced. The Cleveland man touched it, and the Bengals with a big break have it on the Brown 23, 1st and 10. That was a 39-yard boot by Lewis, but the important thing is the Bengals have the ball in a big break. Crabtree left, Speedy Thomas right. The Bengals leading 17-16. Carter gives the ball to Paul Robinson. Head down, drives inside the 20 down to about the 18-yard line before Walter, the Rock Johnson, can wrap him up. He had help from Mike Howell. Jim Houston, the middle linebacker. They put the ball at the 19. So it's a gain of 4, and it'll be 2nd and 6. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Bengals Football Network.
Next Saturday, Ohio State faces Minnesota, and Sunday it's the Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs, all on WAKR Akron.
Essex Johnson has replaced Paul Robinson at a running back spot for the Bengals. Bengals hit the Browns 19. Carter fakes a handoff, rolls to the right, looks, throws. It's complete to Speedy Thomas at the 11, and Erich Barnes wraps him up, and they push him back to the 14. But at the 11-yard line, it'll be a Bengal first down. And that's Speedy Thomas's third pass reception of the afternoon. They put the ball right at the 11, and the Bengals will have a 1st and 10. And, of course, could have a first down and not have the touchdown. They're about 2 feet outside that 10-yard line.
On the previous series of plays, as Phil mentioned, the Browns' defense was rock hard. It'll be interesting to see if that bad punt and the bad break they got on that will have any effect on them here.
The Bengals come out of the huddle. Speedy Thomas to the right. On the left side, Eric Crabtree. They're stacked against Crabtree on the left. Carter with the ball, gives to Jess Phillips. He's hit behind the line of scrimmage and dropped at the 12-yard line. The man who got him was Jack Gregory, the right end. Phillips wanted to get outside but couldn't. They put the ball right about at the 11. We'll call it no gain. The loss, if there is some in the play, is about a couple of feet. So it's a long 10 yards to go at about the 11.5-yard line. There are 5 minutes even remaining to be played in the third quarter. There's been no scoring, and the Bengals lead 17-16. Tight on the left side, on the right side, Speedy Thomas. Carter with the ball, fakes a handoff, drops back to pass. Now he's running to the right, looks, and he's going to be thrown out of bounds at the 22-yard line. The man who got him was Ron Snydow. Dale Lindsay was right over there to make sure that he got no farther. Carter rolling out to the right, could not find Speedy Thomas open down in the end zone. They dropped double coverage back on him. Mike Howell was over there along with Erich Barnes. And the loss is back to the 22-yard line. So now the Bengals have to go all the way to the 1 for the first down. You can imagine the odds against going from the 22 inside the 1 for a first down without getting a touchdown. So it's just about a case of touchdown or field goal attempt from here. Crabtree left, off to the right side is the Thomas. Virgil Carter, the quarterback, gives to Jess Phillips on him, down to the 20, gets away to the 15-yard line, and there he's stacked up by Billy Andrews. Also getting help from Mike Howell, so the Bengals field goal unit comes onto the field.
It was a good call, probably sent in from the bench, as most of the plays are, because the Browns undoubtedly were looking for the pass to, if not for the touchdown, to set up the field goal, and it was a good call. Just had some running room.
Earlier in this quarter, Horst Muhlman missed a 39-yard field goal attempt. Now this one will come from the 23. The Bengals lead by 1 point, and again, it's a big 3. The ball is snapped back. The kick is up in the air, and it is good. So Muhlman connects from the 23-yard line, and time is called with 4:06 left in the third quarter. The score now, the Bengals 20, the Browns 16.
Hey, man, be a swinger. Do your own thing and pick your own music at Auto Home Stereo in Akron and Canton. Rock, soul, underground, or heavy. All of the latest and greatest hits are on tape at Auto Home Stereo, 370 East Market Street in Akron and 1914 West Tuscan, Canton. Man, if music is your bag or your dig, listening, then do it with Stereo Joe. If you want it for your home, Stereo Joe has units made by Fisher, Panasonic, Hitachi, Roberts, Prager, Muntz, and baby, the price is what you can afford. If it's tape decks for your car, they install them while you wait. In stock are some of the finest decks made by Muntz, Craig, and Panasonic, and tapes, there are absolutely thousands to choose from. Whatever your thing, Auto Home Stereo has it at any price that you can spend. And baby, don't worry about problems. They repair and service everything they sell. The cool sounds of today are all available at Auto Home Stereo in Akron and Canton. Just off the expressways, 370 East Market in Akron and 1914 West Tuscan, Canton. Stop in today. It's the grooviest stores you've ever seen.
Here in Cleveland, the Bengals lead the Browns by a score of 20-16. And in that game between Detroit and Washington, the Lions are running out of time. It's third quarter. It's 24-3. Washington leading Detroit.
This is Muhlman's fifth kickoff. They haven't run one back yet, and they probably won't come back with this one. Homer Jones catches it and steps on the back line, so it'll be out to the 20-yard line. Muhlman is 5 for 5 now. No run back. Houston, which is tied with Cleveland for the division lead here in the Central Division of the American Football Conference, is playing the Baltimore Colts down at Houston this afternoon, and there is no score in that ball game. I believe it probably starts at 4 o'clock our time. Pittsburgh, who has lost 3 straight, tied now as Buffalo has scored. It's 10-10 in the third quarter. The Browns on their 20-yard line. Send Gary Collins out to the right, and they have Hooker tied on the left. They're in the I formation. Now they shift out. Morin comes right, and Scott and Kelly in behind Nelson. Takes a handoff to Leroy Kelly, drops back to pass. Fires out in the flat. It's incomplete. Intended for Gary Collins. Lamar Parrish just knocked the ball right out of his hands out at the 42-yard line. It was a deep sideline pattern. Collins came down a little over 20 yards from the line of scrimmage. And when Nelson went back that time, he bumped into Leroy Kelly, and now Kelly and Nelson trying to get the thing straightened out as to where they're supposed to be. So it's 2nd and 10. Cleveland at its own 20, and that was a big field goal for the Bengals because should it stay this way, a field goal is not enough for the Browns.
Lamar Parrish has been talking with some of the coaches on the sideline several times this afternoon, and I think perhaps he has figured out some of the moves that Collins might put on him now.
Hooker wide left, Collins wide right, and Parrish is right up with Collins and Riley with Hooker. Bill Nelson hands off to Leroy Kelly. Tries to cut in to the left side and gets only about a yard up to the 21-yard line. Bill Berge, the middle linebacker, was the man who knocked him down at the 19, and he fell forward to the 21. Bill Berge playing another excellent ball game, as he always does in the middle. Paul Brown said last week against Houston that Bill Berge played probably the finest game of his career overall.
The attendance officially here at the Lakefront Stadium this afternoon, 83,520. And as we said before, it's the 15th straight time that the Browns have attracted upwards of 80,000 fans here on the shores of Lake Erie.
The Browns 3rd and 9 at their own 21. Have Hooker left, Collins right. Nelson drops back to pass. Has protection. Now looks, fires over the middle. It's complete to Hooker at the 33, and he's wrapped up immediately, and that'll be a first down. A big 3rd and 9 play. The Browns got the first down at the 34. Ken Riley, the cornerback, dragged him down. He had help over there from Al Coleman, the strong side safety. But it's the Browns' first down on a big 3rd down play. We see Kenny Graham is up along the Bengals bench walking. He injured his knee or his leg in the pileup after that intercepted pass. The Browns get 14 yards on the play. It's almost to the 35-yard line. So again, Collins is right, Hooker left. Straight up the middle where the ball goes, Bo Scott, and he fights his way up to the 40. He came out of a big pack of tacklers, right, Leroy Kelly, right at the line of scrimmage, and worked his way up for about 5 yards, dragging Bengals along with him. Ron Carpenter, the key tackler, along with Ken Dyer. But he made 6 yards on the play, and it'll be 2nd and 4.
All week long, there's been considerable talk about the injuries suffered by Nelson, Kelly, and Scott, and there was some question, even going into this game, whether they'd play, whether they'd start, whether they'd see any action at all. If they're under par, Phil, I'd hate to see them when they're at 110% as they are most of the time.
Kelly has 60 yards rushing now. 1 minute and 50 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Collins right, Hooker left. On a draw play, Leroy Kelly is smothered by Bill Berge as he gets just about back to the line of scrimmage. Ball is picked up as it's loose down to the 40, and running with it is Dick Shafrath. That ball popped out, and I didn't even see it come. Shafrath picked it up at about midfield, was finally knocked out of bounds by Ken Riley. Very alert play by Shafrath, and the Browns have the ball at the Bengal 32-yard line after Kelly had been stopped. Jim, I didn't even see that ball come out. First thing I saw was Shafrath with it running at about the 40-yard line.
That number 77 was a familiar number, having seen that on Dick Shafrath's back when he played at Ohio State, and I saw him come out of there, and I thought at first of all had been blown dead, but suddenly the official signaled it had not, and Dick really took off.
So the Browns capitalize on the alertness of Dick Shafrath. Collins right, Hooker left. One of the Browns, Gene Hickerson, moved, and flags are down all over, and the Bengals poured through there, and that'll cost the Browns 5 yards. Hickerson was down in his three-point stance when he raised up. That was obviously going to be a passing play, but it'll cost the Browns 5 yards back to the 37-yard line, and it'll be 1st and 15. The Bengals lead in the ball game 20-16 here with just over a minute and a half left to play in its 3rd quarter.
The ball back to the 37, first down, 15.
Still no change. Washington 24, Detroit 3. They're now in the 4th quarter. Dallas leads Atlanta 3-0 in the 2nd. Fletcher Smith is in a cornerback. He's replaced Perry. She's out with Collins. Riley has Hooker over on the right side. A long count. Nelson goes back to pass. Looks now, is hit, and it's a loose ball. It's kicked by the Bengals, picked up by Mike Reed, but it is blown dead. And Reed can't believe it. Royce Berry was right in there again. The ball hit the ground. Nelson was really hammered back there at midfield, and Mike Reed picked the ball up, but it had been blown dead. at the 39-yard line. And Paul Brown, I think, wants to talk to the official about that one, too. That's the 37-yard line is where they bring it back and spot it. That was the line of scrimmage. So it'll be second down now, 15 yards to go. They claimed it was an incomplete forward pass. He's in the act of throwing the ball when he was hit. So the Browns at the 37-yard line have Collins about 12 yards out to the right, Hooker to the left. Second down. Boscott right in behind Bill Nelson. The handoff goes to Leroy Kelly, who goes up the middle, cracks inside the 35 down to about the 33-yard line. Again, Bill Berge, the middle linebacker, and Ken Avery, the right side linebacker, haul him down. They put the ball closer to the 34-yard line. So it'll be a 3-yard gain on the play. And now the Browns again. At the 34-yard line have a key third down play. 12 yards to go. They were 3rd and 9 earlier and came through. The Bengals have put Mac McClure in as a 4th linebacker in place of Ron Carpenter here on this obvious passing situation. 3rd down and 12 yards to go. Nelson goes back to pass. Fires out in the right flat. It's complete to Collins at the 20, down to the 15 and out of bounds. He jumped up over Lamar Perry's or Fletcher Smith and caught the ball. Right at the 15-yard line. Collins caught it at the 20, right against the sideline. A magnificent catch by Collins. Al Coleman finally knocked him out of bounds, but the Browns are at the Bengals' 15-yard line.
Collins that time at 6'4" had about a 5-inch advantage over Lamar Parrish. Collins at 6'4", Parrish at only 5'11". Check that, it was Fletcher Smith, who still is only 5'11", but Collins had a decided height advantage as he went high in the air to pull that one down.
Collins right now and Fair Hooker off to the left. Hand off to Leroy Kelly up the middle, and he is hit and dropped right at the 14-yard line, pushed back to the 15. A little pushing and shoving going on down there. Bill Berge and one of the Browns, Al Beauchamp, was the man who knocked Kelly down. It was Fred Hoagland, the center, along with Bill Berge, who were doing a little shoving down there, but strictly minor in nature. The clock is running with 17 seconds left here in the 3rd quarter. The Browns have the ball at the Bengals' 14. 15 seconds left here in the 3rd quarter. The Browns have the ball at the Bengals' 14, and it'll be 2nd and 9. So 2 big 3rd down plays, 1 3rd and 9, and 1 3rd and about 13 have kept this Cleveland drive alive. Time is running out. They won't get off another play, and the 3rd quarter comes to an end here at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland with the score of the Bengals 20, the Cleveland Browns 16.
Okay, adults, it's time once again to clink those BC glasses together and sit real close to the radio as Uncle Buddy reads BC Comics to the big kids.
Hi there, gang. It's your old Uncle Buddy, and have I got another Super Peachy Keen BC comic strip cartoon for Marathon. Today, Mr. Ant's in the anthill reading the newspaper, and he says, too bad. I wanted to see that flick. And Mrs. Ant says, what's wrong? And he says, it's rated Z. She says, what's Z? He says, that's where they even blindfold the projectionists.
Thanks, Uncle Buddy. And say, you adults can get an attractive 12-ounce BC glass just like old Uncle Buddy's when you buy 8 or more gallons of gasoline at participating Marathon service stations, where you get satisfaction or your money back on all Marathon petroleum products and automotive services. And be sure to ask about the matching pitcher offer, too.
Or old Uncle Buddy will pick the flowers off your tie.
Starting the 4th and final quarter here at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, the Bengals lead the Browns by 4 points, 20-16. But the Brownies are threatening. They're only 14 yards away from pay dirt. They have it 2nd down and 9, and 83,520 fans are looking on as these two rivals clash for the 2nd time this year. Second time this year, the first time in regular season play, and of course they'll meet again November 11th at the Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. Tickets are all sold out for that one. And regardless of what happens in this one this afternoon, that is going to be another one that everyone will be looking forward to on November 11th. Next week, of course, Cincinnati back home against Kansas City. And whether that one is played Sunday afternoon or Monday night will depend upon the outcome of the World Series.
The Browns with the ball. 2nd and 9 at the Bengals 14. They have Hooker out to the left. Gary Collins over on the right side. Leroy Kelly and Bo Scott are the running backs. Nelson with the ball gives to Scott. No, it's pitched back. Around the right side, running with the ball is Moran. He's knocked out of bounds on the 13-yard line. It was a fake to Scott going into the line, and then a quick pitch back on the end around to Milt Moran. Bill Berge and Ken Avery circled over there to knock him out of bounds. They gained just a couple of yards on the play, down to the 12-yard line, and it'll be 3rd down now for the Cleveland Browns, and 7 yards to go. Here's their third crucial 3rd down situation in this series. Paul Brown's new team, the Bengals, have led his old team, the Cleveland Browns, all the way in this ball game. It was 10-2 at the end of the quarter, 17-16 at halftime, and 20-16 at the end of 3 quarters. As the only scoring in the 3rd quarter was Horst Muhlman's field goal. Now Collins and Hooker come to the same side of the left this time. 3rd and 7. Nelson with the ball dropping back to pass. Looks, throws, it's deflected, but it's complete at the 10-yard line, down to the 5 and 4 to the 3-yard line. The 2-yard line is Bo Scott. That ball wobbled. It was deflected by a Bengal at the line of scrimmage, and they pick up 10 yards on the play and have the 1st down. Can you beat that? And that ball was deflected and came out of there like a wounded duck as it just flopped along to Bo Scott, and he caught it at the 10 and managed to wiggle his way down to the 2-yard line.
Phil, you being a duck hunter, too, the same as myself, you know that usually wounded ducks, you get them on the 2nd shot, and you figure that one like that might be picked off. But there was Bo Scott. He was Johnny on the spot right there, and that's a big break for the Brownies.
So 1st and goal at the 2. Bengals with 7 men up on that line of scrimmage. Leroy Kelly running wide to the right at the 5. Berge hits him at the 1. They drive him out of bounds just short of the goal line. Right at the 1. They tried to go wide, and Avery, Berge, Barry were all over there, and they pushed him out of bounds after a gain of a yard. It looked as though Kelly would make it into the corner, but the Bengals covered it quickly. We're just into the 4th quarter of play. Willie Lee Jones is in to make it a 5-man defensive forward wall for the Bengals. Cleveland has never led in this ball game, but they have risen to the occasion with this drive here in the 3rd quarter and now early into the 4th. They have Chip Glass in at tight end to give them the 2 blocking tight ends. At the line of scrimmage, Bill Nelson looks over the Bengals defense. It goes to Leroy Kelly running wide to the left. He's going to go in for the touchdown. Leroy Kelly circles left end for 1 yard, and for the first time this afternoon, the Cleveland Browns go out in front 22-20. 3 big 3rd down plays, and an official's judgment call on that incompleted forward pass when it looked as though it might be a fumble, and the Browns are out in front 22-20. Phipps will hold. Don Cockcroft will attempt the extra point. The lines are down. Phipps will spot it at the 9. The ball is down. The kick is up in the air, and it's good. The time is called 13:52 left in the ball game here at Municipal Stadium. Browns now lead for the first time 23-20.
Traditional, contemporary, any style furniture. You'll find whatever you're looking for at our big furniture store.
Weinrich Furniture at 1103 South Main Street in Akron has everything for the home. Weinrich has quality furniture for any room in any decor. Living room furniture by Howard Parlor, Rowe, Prestige, and S.A. Cook. Bedrooms by Kraler, Tell City, Stanley, and Coleman. Dinettes by Daystrom. Solid hard rock maple dinettes and dining rooms by Tell City. All at reasonable prices. Weinrich also carries such brand names as Maytag, Motorola, Zenith, and Philco appliances, radios, and TVs. And last but not least, carpeting from the looms of Mohawk. Weinreich's has been serving Akron since 1933 at the same location, 1103 South Main Street. Free delivery, Bank AmeriCard, and Master Charge honored. Plenty of free parking at Weinreich's Furniture, 1103 South Main Street in Akron.
Lowest prices, convenient terms on fine furniture.
Weinreich's Furniture and Appliances.
Lead. And the clock shows 13:52 remaining in the ball game.
Essex Johnson and Paul Robinson are deep to get Cockcroft's kickoff. There's the boot. It's a good one. A couple of yards deep in the end zone. It hits the crossbar, and it's automatically dead. Paul Robinson, I believe, was set to come out, but it doesn't make any difference because the ball will come out to the 20-yard line. The Bengals clearly now, for the first time this afternoon, 23-20, will have to do something about it. Pittsburgh has a 19-10 lead over Buffalo in the third quarter. Pittsburgh, of course, has not won a ball game. They're 0-3. Dallas leads Atlanta 3-0. New York has a 23-16 lead over Philadelphia in the third. Virgil Carter has gone all the way at quarterback. He brings the Bengals up to the line of scrimmage. Crabtree is tight on the left, Speedy Thomas to the right. Running backs are Essex Johnson and Jess Phillips. Carter goes back to pass, has time, looks, throws, overthrows Bruce Coslett out at the 45-yard line. Again, Coslett was out in the open, had Ernie Kellerman beat, but Carter overthrew him. The Bengals had lost a sure touchdown earlier when Coslett was overthrown down on the 5-yard line. And Carter most unhappy with himself. That's only the second time this afternoon they've got to Coslett, and the end result has been the same both times, overthrown. Still, the Bengals will have 2nd and 10 at the 20. Paul Robinson may have suffered a slight leg injury on that one play. He came out and Essex Johnson came in, and Johnson's at the running back spot now. Now Coslett is wide to the left, and Crabtree is in the slot. Speedy Thomas off to the right. He has a linebacker and Erich Barnes on him. Again, Virgil Carter drops back to pass. Looks, throws over the middle. It's incomplete. Well, maybe intercepted by Houston. He picked it up in the first bounce. That's what I thought. It signaled no catch. And the Browns are arguing, but you could see from up here that the ball hit the ground. So it's an incompleted forward pass. Carter was hit just as he threw that ball, and it came up short. And one guy who knows that he scooped it up was Jim Houston, the man who picked it up on first bounce. Some of the other Browns who were screened out argue about it. But it was incomplete, and it'll be 3rd and 10. The Browns had a big rush on Carter that time. So the Bengals have one more chance, or they'll be forced to give up the ball. The crowd really coming alive, and boos now as the Bengals come up to the line of scrimmage. Carter signals for quiet. They'll stand back and wait until they do. Crabtree off to the left. On the right side, Speedy Thomas. And the Bengals need 10 yards. The Browns just converted 3 key third down plays. Essex Johnson goes over left guard in the trap and makes only 4 yards. Billy Andrews, the right side linebacker, brings him down. And the Bengals will be forced to punt. 13:22 left in the ball game, and this crowd has really come alive now as Cleveland leads for the first time in the afternoon, 23-20. Tom Shane and Walt Sumner drop back for the Browns, and Dave Lewis, who averaged 46 yards a boot in the first half, will do the punting. The deep man Shane is back at the 35. Snap from center. Lewis's kick is a good spiral. It backs Shane up to the 27-yard line, where he's dropped immediately right at the 27. So time is called now with 12:51 left to play in the ball game here at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland. The score, the Browns 23, the Bengals 20.
Fall is a wonderful time of the year, fans. It's never too late to take a vacation, and Budget Rent-A-Car is always standing by with a beautiful 1970 car at just $79.50 for 7 full days. And you get 1,050 miles free. Not only that, but you're renting a full-size General Motors car like an Impala, a Catalina, a LeSabre, or a Cutlass. At Budget Rent-A-Car, only the prices are budget. You can spend $14 a day and 14 cents a mile elsewhere. But at Budget, you can still get the best cars available at just $8 a day and 8 cents a mile. It's true, Budget Rent-A-Car rates are a whopping 15 to 40% less than number 1 and number 2. Remember, too, when you call 376-2151 and ask for Budget Rent-A-Car, you're dealing with local people. Budget Rent-A-Car is owned and operated by John Mallow, and their service is the finest anywhere. Budget's weekly rate of $79.50 for 7 full days plus 1,050 miles free is yours now simply by dialing 376-2151. And they have 5 convenient locations with the main office at 34 West State, right across from O'Neill's. Budget Rent-A-Car. Only the prices are budget.
By a score of 23-20, we can't help but notice that the Bengals have really not been a strong scoring team in either the first or fourth quarter this year. In 3 games coming into this one, they scored only 7 points in the first quarter and 9 in the fourth period. They need 27. Quite a few of them right now, Phil.
1st and 10. They're in the I formation. They run out of it. A quick pitch to Leroy Kelly, running wide to the right at the 30-yard line. 35, 40, about 42-yard line. But a flag is down on the play. Back at about the 28-yard line. I think it'll be a clipping call against the Cleveland Browns. Al Beauchamp was on the ground. and the official signaling bring the ball back. The 15-yard run by Leroy Kelly. That's the first time today they've run out of the I formation, and they may have caught the Bengals just a little bit napping, but it doesn't make any difference because there's going to be a 15-yard mark-off from the 28-yard line back to the 13. They put it at the 14. So it'll remain first down for the Cleveland Browns. They have to come out to the 37-yard line, so they'll have first and 23.
First down, 23.
There's 12 minutes and 43 seconds left to play in the ball game. Fletcher Smith is the left side cornerback, Ken Riley on the right. The safeties are Ken Dyer and Al Coleman. Kenny Graham has not come back into the ball game since he was injured. Bear Hooker comes left, Gary Collins goes right. Bo Scott, Leroy Kelly are behind Nelson. Hand off to Leroy Kelly, tries the left side, and he's stacked up at the 15-yard line. Ron Carpenter is down on the pile. Steve Chamazak was there. At the 15-yard line, it's a 1-yard pickup, and it'll be second for the Browns and 22. Neither team has used a timeout thus far here in this second half, and the Eagles have tied the Giants 23-23. Philadelphia has lost 3 straight ball games. Martin Bacalio is now in at right end, replacing Ron Carpenter. Minnesota leads the Bears 17-0 at the half. And that's one that's blocked out by the crowd we can't see on the board. Collins right, Hooker left. Nelson goes back to pass, throws the screen on the right side to Kelly at the 15 to the 23-yard line. Bacalio dragged him down after Ken Avery tripped him up and slowed him down. He gets out to the 24-yard line, and they gain 9 yards on the play. So they will have a third down situation now and about 13 yards to go for the first down.
Time is really running out now on the Detroit Lions. They came into that ball game this afternoon 3-0. Washington was 1-2. And in the fourth period, Washington still leads Detroit 24-3. New Orleans and St. Louis are deadlocked 7-7 at the end of the third period. Pittsburgh leads Buffalo 13-10 in the fourth. And Dallas leads Atlanta 3-0 in the second quarter.
They had a 19 up for Pittsburgh. Now they changed it to a 13. You're right, Jim. Now a big third down play for the Browns. They have 13 yards to go at their own 24. Nelson goes back to pass. Looks, fires over in the flat. It's complete to Moran at the 35-yard line. He's dragged down at the 37, and he is short of first down yardage. Well, he just had to go to the 37. That's where he was. Let's see where they're going to put the ball.
As you saw when he was tackled, Phil, he was holding the ball out in front of him, trying to make it stretch out.
He was, and they put the ball at the 37 where it'll be about a foot short of first down yardage. Al Coleman was the man who finally made the tackle, and the Browns, who converted 3 big third down plays in that touchdown drive, missed this one by just a foot or so. So now Lamar Parrish and Essex Johnson drop back, and Don Cockcroft standing back on the 23-yard line. Snap from center is a good one. Cockcroft gets the punt away. It's a high spiral, a good boot. Perry signals fair catch right at the 20 and takes it at about the 19-yard line. That was a 42-yard kick by Cockcroft. The Bengals will start at their 19-yard line. The time is called here at Municipal Stadium. In Cleveland, 10 minutes left to play. No, there is no time. Check it. Timeout was not called, and the Bengals will be ready to go to work.
Still final score just in, and now the Reds are in trouble. Second game of the World Series, the Baltimore Orioles 6, the Cincinnati Reds 5.
First and 10 as Speedy Thomas comes to the slot to the right. Bruce Coslett out to the right. Virgil Carter drops back to pass. Has good protection. Throws down the middle. It's intercepted by Eric Barnes. 25-20, 15-10. He's down to the 6-yard line. Eric Barnes picked off Virgil Carter's pass intended for Bruce Coslett. And the Browns, who lead 23-20, are right back in scoring position at the 6-yard line. He intercepted at the 25. He got a hand on the ball, popped it up in the air, and then Barnes caught it. So first and goal for the Browns, actually about 5.5 yards away. When they've been down there close, they've scored. Clock shows 9 minutes and 25 seconds remaining in this ball game. And how the fortunes do change. The Browns come up out of the huddle. Nelson signals for quiet. Browns up at the line of scrimmage. Handoff goes to Scott. He plunges down to about the 1-yard line as he goes in off left tackle. And they opened up the hole over there. Damari and Shaprath. Bill Berge finally dropped him. And he's just about at the 1-yard line. And the Browns are just that far away from taking a 10-point lead in this ball game after they trailed throughout until they scored a touchdown just a few minutes ago here in this fourth quarter. Chip Glass, another tight end, is in as a blocker in the short yardage situation. The Browns line up slowly as they get into position. Handoff goes to Scott, running wide to the right. He's down very close to the goal line. He's in. Touchdown. Bo Scott goes off right tackle for a yard and the touchdown. The intercepted pass set it up, and the Browns are now ahead 29-20. So the first pass interception of the afternoon for the Cleveland Browns sets up a touchdown. And the Browns go out in front 29-20, and Don Cockcroft will attempt the extra point. Mike Phipps will hold. The lines are down, the ball snapped. Kick is up and good. So with 8:23 left in the football game now here at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, score is now the Browns 30, the Bengals 20.
You are winner all the time. Duke's the winner all the time. Duke's a winner all the time.
You too can be a winner if you tell a man to make your beer Duke, whether in bottles, cases, or on tap. More people every day are discovering the deep down satisfaction that comes with every sip of Duke. Try a Duke today. All you have to lose is your thirst. Be a winner. Try a Duke.
Duke's a winner all the time. Duke's a winner all the time. Duke's a winner all.
People know a good thing when they taste it. We're now selling over 1 3/4 million Duke beers a day. Try a Duke. You'll taste why.
An interception of the year for Erich Barnes. Last week he had one for 38 yards for a touchdown against Pittsburgh, and he came within 6 yards of picking up 6 points on that one.
Johnson and Robinson deep for the Bengals as Cockcroft prepares to kick off. There's the kick. It's high and not too deep. Taken on the 4-yard line by Essex Johnson to the 10, to the 15, to the 20, to the 25-yard line, and there he's sacked up. So the Bengals, trailing now by 10 points, go to work at their own 25-yard line. And the Bengals have 8 minutes and 13 seconds to do something about it. After Barnes returned the intercepted pass to the 6-yard line, it took just 2 plays. Bo Scott for 5 and then Scott for 1. Coslett goes wide to the left. In the slot is Crabtree. Speedy Thomas out to the right. Virgil Carter has Jess Phillips and Essex Johnson as his running back. Carter drops back, down and out. Is complete to Thomas at the 30, run out of bounds at the 31-yard line. Erich Barnes right on him on the quick down and out. So it gains 6 yards, and it'll be 2nd and 4. And, of course, stops the clock. 7:46 remaining. The Bengals trail 30-20 in this ball game. Now, Paul Robinson comes back in, replacing Johnson. And Guy Dennis comes in with the play as Pat Matson goes out. The Bengals trailing by 10 will just about have to go to the air here with only 7:45 remaining. Speedy Thomas to the right, Harry Crabtree to the left. Carter again goes back to pass. The Browns loop, throws a screen out to left to Phillips. At the 25, at the 30, gets away from Houston, but dragged down at the 37-yard line by Jerry Shirk. That'll be a Bengal first down. They gained 7 yards on that screen pass to Jess Phillips, who had Eric Crabtree and Ernie Wright in front of him over on the left side. Got away from Jim Houston at about the 31-yard line, and I moved it up to the 37. So it'll be 1st and 10. Both teams have all 3 timeouts remaining. The Bengals trail by 10 at 30-20. The Browns are doing a lot of looping in the line now, with tackles going outside, ends inside. Carter again goes back to pass. Has protection down the middle. Coslet has it at midfield, and he's down by Ernie Kellerman. Bruce Coslet catches his first pass of the afternoon. It's a 13-yard flip from Virgil Carter. And another Bengal first down right at midfield. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Cincinnati Bengals Football Network.
What's your favorite sport? Well, you'll get all the scores, no matter what it is, all the time on WAKR Akron.
Again.
The game continues at the beginning of side 4.
Akron.
Again, Carter drops back to pass, has protection, fires out in the flat, it's complete to Coslett at the 40, and he's down at the 35 by Ernie Kellerman at the 34. Kellerman got him around the ankles, and if he hadn't stopped him, Coslett was home. But it's another 16-yard gain for the Bengals down to the Browns 34. Twice this afternoon, Carter has missed Bruce Coslett. Once a sure touchdown down at the 5-yard line. Coslett, who's played all the way at tight end in place of injured Bob Trump. He had not caught a pass until his fourth quarter. Now he's taken in two quick ones. One for 13 yards and this one for 16. Browns lead 30-20. Time of the utmost importance. 5:40 left in the ball game. Carter again dropping back to pass. Has plenty of time. Fires. Incomplete. Intended for Speedy Thomas out on the right flat. The pass was a little bit short. Thomas made a dive for it at the 24-yard line. Mike Hall and Erich Barnes were over covering. So it'll be 2nd and 10 for the Bengals at the Browns 34. Pittsburgh now leads Buffalo 20-10 in the fourth quarter, and Washington has scored. So has Detroit. It's Washington 31, Detroit 10, and that game must just about be over.
It's difficult to imagine, Phil, the Detroit Lions with a high-powered offense that we've seen twice this year, once preseason, once regular season, that they could be held to 10 points.
They've given up 17 in 3 games, and Washington scored 31 this afternoon. The Bengals at the line of scrimmage again as Carter drops back to pass. Looking, fires over the middle, almost intercepted by Kellerman. He can't hold on to it. It was intended for Jeff Phillips down at the 25-yard line. The Browns are putting out a big surge, but the Bengals offensive line is holding them. So it'll be 3rd and 10 now at the 34-yard line. Matson comes in, Dennis goes out. Clock is stopped, 5:25 left to play. The Browns were listed as 10-point favorites in this ball game, and right at the moment, that's perfect. Dallas has taken a 6-0 lead over Atlanta in the third quarter now. Big third down play for the Bengals. They have a double wing formation. Paul Robinson on the right side, Crabtree off on the left. Carter drops back to pass. Now he's running to the left. Looking, he's down to the 40, throws. It's complete to Coslett at the 15-yard line, and he's down. He got away from Ernie Kellerman. Kellerman knocked him down finally at the 15-yard line, and the Bengals have another first down. The Bengals are really going to Bruce Coslett now, matching him up with the Browns' strong safety, Ernie Kellerman. He's caught 3 for 13, 16, and now 19 yards. And that was a big third down play. The Bengals have it 1st and 10 on the 15.
And some great scrambling on the play by Virgil Carter. His pocket protection broke down. He rolled out to the left, was being chased, and got that ball away at just the last moment.
Four minutes and 42 seconds remaining. Speedy Thomas to the right. Out to the left is Eric Crabtree. On a draw play, it goes to Jeff Phillips, and he's wrapped up at the 16-yard line for a loss of a couple of yards. Jerry Shirk, the right tackle, and Walter Johnson, the left tackle, smelled that draw play and hammered Phillips for a loss of a yard at the 16, and it'll be 2nd and 11. The Bengals took this ball at the 20-yard line, or at the 25, after Essex Johnson had returned the kickoff there and had moved it down to the 16-yard line. Carter is 8 for 14 in the second half after being 11 for 13 in the first half, but had one very costly interception that led to a Browns touchdown. 2nd and 11 at the 16. Again, Carter goes back to pass. Look, Speedy Thomas at the 5, touchdown! Speedy Thomas got away from Erich Barnes and Mike Howell, ran a post pattern, slanted right in toward the goalpost, caught the ball at about the 3 or 4 yard line and went in, and now it's 30-26. And Horst Mohlman will attempt to put the Bengals within 3 points. A 16-yard touchdown pass, Virgil Carter to Speedy Thomas. That's Speedy Thomas's first touchdown of the year. Makes it 30-26, and Mohlman will attempt to add the 27th point. The ball is down, the kick is up in the air, and it's good. A flag is thrown. And let's see. We'll have to go again. There was movement on the left side of the Browns line. The penalty is against the Cleveland Browns, so the extra point will stand. And it's now 30-27, and the Bengals have 3 minutes and 50 seconds to hold the Browns and get their hands on the ball again. Boy, that scoring drive really keyed by the passing of Virgil Carter to Bruce Cowsett. Cowsett caught 3 passes for 13, 16, and 19 yards, and then the 16-yard scoring strike to Speedy Thomas.
That scoring strike to Speedy Thomas ties a club record set by Sam White back in 68 against Houston for the most pass completions in one game. 20 pass completions for Virgil Carter for the afternoon.
He's 20 for 28. Horst Moolman will kick off. The Browns are looking for an onside kick. And let's see what Horst will do. He boots it over on the left side. Will it go out of bounds? It goes out of bounds right by the flag. And did it go out of bounds before it went into the end zone? I believe that it did. So he'll have to come back and kick it over again if that's the case. Yes, it was. Their deep men were at about the 10-yard line. They were not looking for the long kick. So Moolman will kick from the 35-yard line this time. Illegal procedure penalty, of course, against the Bengals. The final score now, Washington 31, Detroit 10. And the Lions, who had given up just 17 points in 3 games, were shredded for 31. That Central Division race is really something. Detroit is 3-1. Chicago, Green Bay, and Minnesota were 2-1 going into their ball games this afternoon. But, of course, the Bears are playing Minnesota. Green Bay will play San Diego tomorrow night. The deep men are Homer Jones and Tom Shane as Moolman gets set to kick off now from the 35-yard line. Vance is on the ball. It's a line drive kick that'll carry back into the end zone. 5 yards deep. Out comes Thomas. He's at the 10, to the 15, to the 20, and knocked down maybe just shy of the 20-yard line, which is just about where he would have been had he let the kick go. Ron Lamb was the man who dropped him. So the Browns will go to work with 3:36 showing on the clock. The ball is just shy of the 20-yard line. The Browns lead in the game. It has been a tremendous thriller, 30-27. The Browns did not take the lead until they scored a pair of touchdowns in the fourth quarter. One on a 1-yard run by Leroy Kelly, another of a yard run by Bo Scott. The Browns, of course, will take as much time as possible. The clock is running 3:15. They come out in the I formation. They shift out of it. Morin goes right. Both teams have all 3 timeouts remaining. A long count, naturally, by Bill Nelson. Gives off to Leroy Kelly, who tries it over left guard and gets a yard to the 21-yard line. Wrapped up by Ken Avery, the right side linebacker. Ron Carpenter, the right end, also in the tackle. So it'll be 2nd and 9 for the Browns at their own 21. The only quarter that a team has not scored was Cleveland in the third quarter. The Bengals have gone 10-7, 3-7. Cleveland 2, 14, 0, and 14 here in the fourth quarter. Time down to 2:32. Browns taking plenty of time. They have Gary Collins and Fair Hooker both split to the left. Handoff goes to Bo Scott running. He's out at the 28, 29, 30 into the 33-yard line, and he has the first down. Sliced in right off right tackle. Got good blocking over there from Hickerson and Tafoni, and the Browns have a most crucial third down. Finally, Fletcher Smith and Ron Carpenter hauled him down. Now we're down to the 2-minute mark. We'll have the automatic timeout. That was a big play. It enabled the Browns to hold on to the football, and now the Bengals will have to use their timeouts to stop the clock while the Browns have the ball, and should the Bengals get their hands on the football again, they will not be able to have too many timeouts left. It's 30-27. As time here has been called, we'll check that scoreboard. In the third quarter, it's Minnesota 17, the Bears nothing. New Orleans and St. Louis are 7-7 in the third quarter. Dallas leads Atlanta 6-0 in the third quarter. It's now Pittsburgh 23, Buffalo 10 in the fourth quarter. Washington beat Detroit 31-10. In the fourth quarter, Philadelphia and New York are 23-23. Last night, Miami beat the Jets 20-6. Big 2nd and 9 play, and Bo Scott rambled for 11 yards and a Cleveland Brown first down. Well, next week, if the World Series is over, on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock at Riverfront Stadium, the Bengals will take on the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. The World Series is not over. The game will be moved back to Monday night. 30-27 is the scene here at Municipal Stadium. 2 minutes remaining on the clock. The Browns have the lead, and they also have the ball. Each team has their 3 timeouts remaining. The Browns, of course, are not interested in using theirs, and the Bengals have to use theirs very, very wisely. They undoubtedly will have to use them while the Browns have the ball. Now the official signals ready to go. The Browns huddling back on the 20-yard line. Reed and Chamazak are the tackles. Berry and Carpenter are the ends. Kenny Graham has not returned to action since he was injured. The Browns shift out of the I formation. Hooker is left, Collins right. Running backs are Scott and Kelly. And up to Leroy Kelly, coming wide to the left at the 30-yard line. He's hit and dropped at the 34 as he cuts in. Ken Avery, Ron Carpenter, Al Coleman, all there to get him. Out in front, leading the interference, was John DeMary, who gets up and limping slightly. It's a gain on the play of a couple of yards. And the Bengals have used up one of their timeouts to stop the clock here with 1:54 left to go. So the Browns made 2 yards on the play, and it'll be 2nd and 8. Reese Morrison has replaced Bo Scott at running back. Blanton Collier goes out to give him a pat on the back as he comes up. Russ Collier was on Paul Brown's staff here at Cleveland, took over the head coaching job when Brown left. The Bengals offensive unit all in a huddle around Coach Bill Johnson and Paul Brown on the far sidelines right at midfield, figuring out what to do, setting up a sequence of plays, of course, because the Bengals may not have any timeouts by the time that time comes around. And Bill Berge, who also went over the sidelines to talk things over, is back on the field. 1:54 left to play. The Browns are at their own 35-yard line, and they have 2nd down. About 8 yards to go for the first down. Up at the line of scrimmage, Bill Nelson, the quarterback. Hand off to Leroy Kelly, who slashes up the middle, gets to about the 38-yard line before he's dropped by Bill Berge. And again, the Bengals called a timeout. Berge was right there, so was Ron Carpenter, Ken Dyer. He made it to the 37, almost to the 38-yard line. They give him about 3-4 yards on the play. And it'll bring up a 3rd down situation now, and just 5 yards to go for the first down. And the Bengals have just 1 timeout remaining. That play only took 4 more seconds, and it's 1:50. Of course, the Bengals could stop the clock by throwing that ball away. But you can bet that they won't huddle, because that offensive unit is still gathered around Paul Brown and line coach Bill Johnson on the far side of the field. 30-27, the Browns lead. 1:50 to go. New Orleans has now taken a 10-0 lead over St. Louis in the 3rd quarter. Games later on this afternoon. San Francisco will be at Los Angeles. They'll be getting underway shortly. Los Angeles unbeaten 3-0. San Francisco has won 2 and lost 1. And the big Denver-Oakland game also will be getting underway in about 10 minutes. Denver has won 3 straight. Oakland has yet to win in 3 games. They have 2 losses and a tie. What has been a thrilling football game is coming right down to the end of the line here at Municipal Stadium. 30-27. The Bengals have just 1 timeout now remaining. The Browns are in a huddle back around their own 27-yard line. Bo Scott made a big first down in the last series of plays, enabled Cleveland to hold on to the ball, and of course it caused the Bengals to use up their timeout. Now they have both receivers split to the right. Nelson with the ball, goes back to pass. Looks, fires out in the flat. It's caught at the 45-yard line and wrestled out of bounds, and the Browns have a first down. It was Nelson to Gary Collins. Oh, my. 3rd down and about 5 yards to go, and they completed a pass good for 9 yards, and the Browns have a first down and will hold on to the ball. It's at their own 45-yard line. He ran out of bounds. That stopped the clock. But now the Browns have a first down, and the Bengals have only 1 timeout remaining. So while they've been trying to cradle the ball and hold on to it and let that clock run, they have made 2 first downs. That one on a critical pass from Nelson to Gary Collins. Hooker comes to the left. Collins goes to the right. Hand off to Leroy Kelly, up the middle into Bengals territory, down to the 45-yard line, and he almost broke it all the way. Royce Berry, Ken Avery, Al Coleman, Ken Dyer, all there to make the tackle, and he picked up just about 10 yards on the play, just a little bit shy of first down yardage. He got about 9.5 yards on the play. Kelly went straight up the middle, and the hole was there. Clock is running with 1 minute and 19 seconds, 18-17, and the Browns, of course, will take plenty of time. The ball is right on the Bengals' 45-yard line. They've got about 2 feet to go for the first down. And the Bengals almost helpless with only 1 timeout remaining. Now the Browns, in no hurry at all, come out of the huddle. Hooker to the left, Nelson to the right. Hand off to Leroy Kelly. He's got about 2 yards as he's wrestled down, or yard maybe wrestled down by Bill Berge and Ron Carpenter. And now the Bengals, well, the official signal timeout. I don't know if the Bengals called it or not. They put the ball right at the 45-yard line, so there's no gain. The Bengals have called a timeout, and that's the last one they have. It'll be third down and less than a yard to go for the Cleveland Browns. So, of course, if they make the first down, can hold on to the ball for what time there is remaining. They made 2 big first downs when they had to. One on a 3rd and 5 situation, a 9-yard pass to Gary Collins. They made the other one back deeper in their own territory on a 9-yard run by Bo Scott. The Bengals next Sunday, if the game is to be played on Sunday, against the Kansas City Chiefs. Then it'll be 3 straight weeks on the road: Washington, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo. Then home for 3. Both equipment managers came out on the field. The ball is at the 45-yard line, and Bill Berge has gone out to consult the defensive coaches, and the Bengals now do not have any timeouts remaining. 49 seconds left to play. The only thing the Bengals can hope for now is a fumble, and they'll be going for the ball. Browns huddling up at their own 45-yard line. Come out of the huddle and up to the line of scrimmage. Collins goes slowly to the right. They're tight on the left side. The clock will not start to run till the ball is snapped. Nelson holds on to it and just drives into the right side of the line, gains nothing. He's piled up right there at the 45-yard line. The officials whistle to stop the clock. So it brings up third down now. They're going to measure for the first down. Looks as though it's still about 2 feet short. But let's wait and see. It's about a foot short. And fourth down coming up. So the Browns will be forced to boot, and the Bengals will get their hands on the ball one more time, but no timeouts remaining and 46 seconds showing on the clock. Now let's see if it will be a punt or a field goal attempt of about 53 yards. Cockcroft is both the field goal man and the punter. "34 seconds showing on the clock. The Browns are still back in the huddle, taking time to talk this thing over. It's going to be a punt. So now Damari and Hoagland come back to check it out. Lamar Parrish and Essex Johnson are the deep men, and of course when they get it, once it goes in the end zone, they'll have to run it out of bounds. Time running, down to 11 seconds, 10. The Browns are in no hurry, and they're penalized 5 yards now for delay of game. And they could care less. That'll move it back to the 50-yard line. 10 seconds showing on the clock. The Browns lead in the ball game 30-27. Now the Browns come out of the huddle. The Bengals, of course, will rush with everything they have. Snap from center is good. Cockcroft gets the kick away. It's a high spiral. It bounces down at about the 3-yard line and goes into the end zone. 2 seconds show on the clock. The official stop time. And that's the time remaining as the Bengals will be on their 20-yard line. Cockcroft boots it into the end zone, so the Bengals will have one more play. The Browns were able to eat up that clock as a result of the 2 key first downs that they made. Virgil Carter came up to check with the referee Tommy Bell to find out just when the clock would start. because the Bengals were not going to take any huddle. Now Bob Johnson consulting with him, but now the Bengals have dropped back into a huddle at the 15-yard line. I think I've been told that the clock will not start until the ball is snapped. Now Ernie Wright talking with the official, also to find out, to check and make sure. Washington beat Detroit this afternoon 31-10. Nope, it is starting. No, it is not starting. Tommy Bell gave the signal that we're back in play, but the clock has not started. And will not start, I don't believe, until the Bengals snap the ball. Of course, the Browns dropping 3 men back 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. They'll rush with only 3 men. Carter with the ball, going back to pass. Looks. Now is hit and dropped back at the 9-yard line by Gregory. And that's the end of the ball game. Ron Gregory sifted through to knock down Carter, and the Cleveland Browns have won it here 30-27 in a wild, wild offensive struggle. And Pat Madsen getting up rather slowly on the last play of the ball game. And the boos pour out. Boos may have been for Coach Paul Brown, who is just walking over to the dugout leading to the runway and back to the Cincinnati Bengals dressing room.